his birth date and try to see what he has got. You see all these planets. Naturally, that makes sense. Time is unknown, so don't worry about that lagna. But at least Venus, Mercury, Mars, forget about Brigu Bindu too. For if time is not that, because Rahu position won't change much. Moon may change here and there, but again, you can see heavy planets in Satabisha for this. So it's natural for him to use water as an element for healing. So it was a random search, but it worked well. Then I said, okay, lot of healings are done. Let's see about some, spy, Mata Hari. Somehow when I was looking Mata Hari, I don't know. Have you heard about this woman, Mata Hari?
I have her chart for us tonight. I have her chart, and you're probably not going to cover what I'm going to cover, so don't worry at all. Like, I doubt seriously you're going to cover the part I'm going to cover, but this is an interesting lady.
Very interesting lady.
I'm not going to cover the spy part, so please. I'm going to cover a different part. Yeah.
Okay, so she was a Dutch exotic dancer and courtesan, and she was claimed as a German spy during World War I. Okay, so spy, because I was thinking Satabisha is also Varuna. They are good for spies and all those, because all that night mafias and all which we were talking. See, Varuna can be like a big mafia leader too, if you say that. So, and it's very interesting. You should read about her story, how she was, and she was basically then executed and then by French people and by France government, and then they killed her. But even before dying, she was giving flying kiss to the judge, and she said, "I'm not afraid of death and all. You do not cover me and all those things. It's fine." She was even while dying, she was showing her all frontness and all those things, which is very weird. Like when you're in the front of death, you will lose all that. But she was something very different. And let's see her chart. Of course, Saturn in Shatabisha, Moon in Satabisha for her. But at the same time, you see a lot of planets in ST-SHA too, which makes sense about exotic dancer and a very seductive dancer and all those things. So I won't cover too much, but again, I just thought Mata Hari can be one good example. Again, time unknown, but position planets will be the same. Let us store something for Eve G. Eve G has got some secrets to share, maybe about
you
Mata
won't
Hari.
cover the part I'm going to talk about. I'm sure. No, please.
Yeah. But anyway, so Saturn and Moon both in Satabisha. Saturn shows the work nature and all. You can see how it works. But anyway, I won't go into much deep. Now comes last point, festivals for me, as I always cover. What are the festivals? Now you can immediately think about Shatabisha, water element. So Sun transits Shatabisha. If you say the degrees of Shatabisha from 6 degree 40 minutes of Aquarius to 20 degree of Aquarius, exactly between 19th February and 5th March every year, there is Sun transit Shatabisha around that time. So, and this is the only festival, I guess. Very few festivals we get in Krishna Paksha. Of course, Janmashtami is one, but very few festivals during Amavasya time. And here, Moon is also in Satabisha and Sun is also in Satabisha for this festival. It's a Mahashivratri, basically. And I have given some dates, basically, when this Mahashivratri was falling for the past few years. So it's around this period, 19th February to 5th March. That's when the Mahashivratri falls. And what do you do in Mahashivratri? You pray to Lord Shiva Linga, and what do? You pour water, you pour milk, correct? You do Abhishekam. What are you doing? You are basically doing the role of Shatabisha, water bearer, pouring water on the Shiva.
I've been waiting for you guys to mention intoxicants. And this is the time. Because this is a night that a lot of people do that. And as we know, that's a side of Varuna.
Exactly. Yeah. They what they chew. What is that called? Bhang.
People do. I don't know. That's not my world, but it's definitely something that happens.
Yeah. they smoke weed and all, but anyway.
Yeah, but also Varuni, the alcohol element, which
Yeah. But that's the thing. Whenever you have intoxicant, then only there will be cleansing, correct? Otherwise, without intoxicants, how do you go to healing? You need healing because of intoxicants. So you need intoxicants for
it's interesting. It's an interesting little topic with Shadabhishaka because it is very common. Like if you look at a lot of the very, very sad, almost tragic tales of many actors, like Guru Dutt, he's a famous Shadabhishaka moon. He drank himself, very tragic story. You also have like Kurt Cobain, another very tragic. A lot of these musicians, actually, Elvis, I believe he's got Shadabhishaka as well. A lot of them have a big tolerance for alcohol. And I'm going to cover some of why that may be. It's a speculation, but I just wanted to say, like, Mahashivratri is actually everything's a shadow of a shadow of a shadow, right? We have to break ourselves out of this rigidity of bad and good and shaming people and all this. Let's just look at life as it is and love it. There are people who do all kinds of things. That's not our business. It's not our business to correct that. You know what I mean? It's not. So you get people that are looking for escapism and they may drink. They may listen to music. You get people who are looking to go within and they may do something what we consider higher, like meditate or do these things. But it's still looking for that song. It's still looking to go within in some way, even if it's a small shadow of a shadow of a shadow of a shadow. Which is, it ends up destroying the body, right? We all know eventually it ends up destroying the body, and therefore it's probably not a good idea to cultivate that habit, but it is a side of Shadabhishaka Nakshatra. It's a side of it, is looking for that, whatever people are looking for in intoxication, whether it's escapism, whatever it is they're looking for. So Mahashivratri, a lot of people look for that. And some people look for it in celebration and some people various ways, So anyway, I just...
Interesting. Yeah, it's an interesting thing. Can anyone guys say about some other festival which is important, connected to sea and all those? Being from Mumbai, Narli Purnima. We used to, this comes in the month of August, where you offer coconuts to the fishermen in Mumbai community, especially Mumbai. They have the great festival of Narli Purnima, offering coconut again, coconut Rahu, offering coconuts to the sea. And that happens in during the full moon day in the Shravan month, which comes in the August. Now in Shravan month, see, you have Shatabisha from 6 degree 40 to 20 degree in Aquarius. Opposite is what? Leo. Leo 6 degree 40 to 20 degree will be the opposite of Satabisha. Now when the sun transits this Leo part, it's when August 23 to September 6th. That is the time when sun transits this region, and that is the time when Narli Purnima is also celebrated. So during Narli Purnima, sun is aspecting Shatabisha. During the time of Narli Purnima, sun aspects Shatabisha.
Question, Togiji. I have a question, and maybe anyone can answer, but Togiji, when you look at any celebration like this, so Purnima, of course, sun and moon are opposite Rashi. Something like this, I've often contemplated whether it needs to be on the exact nakshatra for the real effect or merit to get. Like, let's say it was supposed to be Shadabhishaka, but see, every time you get a Purnima in that month, it's not going to land in Shadabhishaka.
Exactly.
So, but we just kind of do it for the holiday's sake, and we celebrate whenever the full moon is. But I do wonder, I don't know if you guys have contemplated that, whether...
Actually, I thought about it. I think that, but what you're suggesting is the exact opposite is what I think is the reality. So you can actually capture the energy of the nakshatra, even if it's in the vicinity of it. So it need not be on the exact thing. So in fact, one thing I can say, you need not have a planet in Satabhisha Nakshatra, but if you have planet in Purabhadrapada or in Dhanishta, you might experience Satabhisha results because more in the vicinity of Satabhisha Nakshatra. So it's like you have the neighbors' influences Satabhisha, one way or the other you can get that. So this is also a big clue, actually big secret in my opinion, like open secret celebrated in festivals. Like you need not get the exact thing, you can still get the effects of something else, even if it's close to it actually. So there's a proximity thing that you can get in my opinion. So it's a different take, of course, but I understand your point. So I did think about, is a Nag Panchami perfect? So Akshaya Tritiya, for instance, they celebrate Akshaya Tritiya, moon is exalted, sun is exalted. Well, Tritiya, you do it. Ideally, you wouldn't want moon to be exactly at 2 degrees or 3 degrees or Taurus or for it to be exalted. But still, it would not satisfy the Tritiya thing. Well, so what's going on at that point, right? So that kind of thing. But then what I'm thinking is that perhaps it is possible that you could still get the energies, even if it's like energies if celebrated en masse can be gathered, in my opinion. So that will be the clue. So like a lot of people should be celebrating it. Then there is a possibility for you to get the neighboring thing easily.
Correct.
It's
That's
interesting. It's very interesting to contemplate, for sure. There's two ways to see that. And I see what you mean. Yeah, I've thought about, it's just fascinating because some of these say that the fruits they give are so immense that if it was true that everyone was getting that fruit, you would see the result of it in a big way. Whereas if you were to follow it more specifically, like where it would have to be, even let's say these Nietzsche Ucha things where it has to be that exact degree or it has to be that exact point, and the moon does need to be involved, for instance. It can't just be something aspecting it or something. It has to be the exact hand of the clock on that. Then my question is, are you more likely to receive the real fruit of what it says? Something for people, I'm hoping people will experiment and tell us because it's not, something that comes up, but I often think more like what you said, Sandeep Ji, like I just think more like, well, if a big ocean of people, because there's many versions of the ocean, you get a crowd of people together as massive energy. It's a big network of energy.
True. I agree. See, when August month, Shravan month, that means full moon has to be in the Shravana nakshatra, not in Shatabisha nakshatra.
I wonder.
Okay. Now the thing is when the full moon is occurring between these dates, August 23 to September 6, when the full moon is occurring between these dates, it has to be in Shatabisha. Then then that month is no more Shravana. It is going in Shatabisha. Because for Purnima, you have to be 180 degrees away from the sun. So if the sun is in between these days, we know sun is opposite of Shatabisha. So the moon has to be in Shatabisha for that. And the theme of praying to ocean, again, ocean god and all those things comes into picture. So sometimes because of these dates going here and there, the festivals go a little bit here and there. But
it seems it actually seems like it might be very, very fluid. And then these special dates are going to be less often, and therefore it makes them more special. Could be.
Yeah.
Could be.
Like for example, we have, as I said, we have tomorrow is the New Year for most of, because the sun is entering sidereal, and the New Year is that tithi, the sunrise has to happen. Now in India, they are going to celebrate on 15th, correct? Yeah, we are going to celebrate on 15th of April. But for us, for Americans and all, we need to celebrate on 14th April because that's the point we have. So that's a shift of one day.
That's the exact degree, right? That's
degree,
what you're looking for, yeah.
Because by tomorrow, I don't know what is the degree of sun right now. Like, can anyone say what is the degree of sun right now?
29 degrees something.
What something? That's what is important. That something is important now.
Yeah, I'm not sure. Let's see.
So it's in the, of course, it's in the Pisces, and it says sun is around 20.
Yeah, sun has just turned into Ashwini actually right now. 0
degrees, 0 minutes, in fact, right now.
Exactly.
It shows 0 degrees, 0 minutes. So sun is entered right now. Yeah, it was 8:30 a.m. morning. Yeah, I remember. It was 8:30 a.m. IST. So now what is the time?
8:49 actually.
Yeah, it was 8:30 in IST. So now at this point, sun has entered the first point of Aries. So for us, Americans, tomorrow is the new year, because that's why we'll be having sunrise and we'll be celebrating New Year. For Indians, it will be next day. So any country from now at this point, if they see sunrise, they have to celebrate today. That whatever the next day, 14th of April. But for India, already sunrise has happened. So you all need to celebrate India, China, Malaysia, and all of you need to celebrate tomorrow. So what a time! 0 degrees, 0 minutes. Right now.
Sankranti is a form of Sankranti. Yeah.
It's a Mesha Sankranti right now. So happy New Year, everyone! At this the correct time of. Of course, the video will come out late, but I think with that, some of the keywords, and I end my slides with this.
I don't discuss, but I wanted to add one more point about the previous slide. Now, okay, the Purnima that you talked about, the Nareli Purnima in Maharashtra, the fishermen community go and offer the coconut to the water. But also there is another important phenomenon across Maharashtra is many of them stop eating fish or any sort of sea food for 1 month. It's called
1 month.
Mas. They say, oh, Shravan, eat. Now, if you really understand the logic behind it, many people don't even know that why they stop is because when this alignment is happening, the Purnima, right? Why they are doing that? Why is this whole phenomenon is, it is the breeding season for a particular form of fish during that time. So if they start fishing during the breeding season, they get less fish. So they want more to breed and they have to have more fish. So the whole community stops eating fish. I'm talking about mostly in parts of Maharashtra and Mumbai. That whole month they keep a fast, not a fast. They go vegetarian. They don't eat fish. It's because of the fish breeding season they want to have, and the Purnima is a the full moon. They offer the Nariyal is to say, let there be even more abundant fish. That's why they're worshipping Varuna Devata, saying that. And also, I think because of the rains, the sea is really turbulent, and many of the fishermen, they stop going to the fishing because 2 reasons. One, there is no buyers for their fish. Secondly, the water is very turbulent. So there is also, when I look at festivals, I also want to say there is an aligned something behind it. The reason why people start celebrating and doing it by offering that Rahu element of, you said Nariyal, which is the coconut. We are trying to see if there can be more abundance in their life because there could be more fish that they can get after, and so people will start eating again. And there is, so these are some of the background things which many people scientifically will not know, but that's what I wanted to bring out. So this alignment is also associated with the fish eating belt, because it's the Malabar coast, Parshuram Kshetra, we say. Some of them are fish eating, Brahmins as well, we find it in this belt. Yeah, you can continue.
No. I'm done with my chatting. Oh my God, our thing is always exhaustive. Yeah.
So great. I think now over to UG then. Yeah.
Finally, we are successful in doing, Shatabisha video.
I don't know if you guys can see.
Yeah, we can.
Yes, we can. Yeah.
Yeah, we can see.
Okay. We have spoken a lot. I definitely did not even plan on speaking on natural law versus man-made law. But I'm out here by a river, and it's like I had to sit in the dark. So it's just another reminder to be humble and not to force things that are unnatural. So let me bow to Varuna and bow to natural cosmic law. And I want to pray that all of you are protected from my ignorance. And what I'm going to attempt to do here is highlight Varuna Deva as I've understood, as my limited intelligence has been able to digest, as my limited yoga Shakti has been able to have union. And I want to show you guys some of the ways to use this time. I'm usually not the person who likes to get into prediction and all of this. I'm very private. about what I do. And this time, this is a very simple thing. It's a very, very simple thing. It's not, shouldn't blow your mind. I mean, you should have discovered this yourself probably. But I just would like to show how when a nakshatra gets activated, what qualities get released, what happens. And when I was speaking about natural law, I definitely have a chart here who exemplifies that. Okay, so let's just start here. Togiji did a great job of highlighting the healing that comes from Shadabhishaka. But this can be very misleading because any of us that have Shadabhishaka nakshatra prominent in our horoscopes, or whatever it may be, if you a loved one, you know that that person may have unexplainable struggles with their health, that it may take 100 doctors to diagnose them. It may even feel like 1,000 doctors. So this nakshatra comes with a mysterious force. It's not always that the person is going to be a doctor. This could be referring to some other qualities that that a human being requires to stay healthy in life. And that includes mental health. And I'm not speaking from a psychiatric or psychological point of view. I'm not speaking from some, college or what a college or an institution could teach you. I'm speaking of psychological health that no one can teach you besides yourself. Okay, so Varuna desires to be firm and steady. In the Brahmanas, he desires to be unshakable. And it's said that if we give the proper sacrifice or do the proper ritual at the time of Shadabhishaka, we will become firm and unmovable, or firm and steady, that we will lose our unsteadiness. The symbol is a circle. And I have an image here from a film that some of you may recognize. I won't go into that now. It's a public image. But you see what you could say is a yogi sitting in the center of a circle. We all have a circle that we need to sit inside of and not move for anyone or anything. We don't need to go to the left side of that circle. We don't need to go to the right side of that circle. We need to stay in that circle, and we need to have those people around us that will help us stay centered in that circle. Now remember, Kumbha Rashi is in the 11th house of society, friends, people, manyness. And in the manyness, the oneness can be lost. In Shadabhishaka, the medicine that comes from this nakshatra is probably the most critical medicine a human being could have. And it does not come in a vial, and it does not come from anyone but you. And anyone who tries to take that medicine from you, you run from that person. Simple law. Simple law. So Varuna is here for all of us as that reminder to stay firm and free from disaster. What is freedom from calamity, freedom from disaster? What does Shaja Shakti protect us from? The old school shamans, I don't even like this word because it's become commercialized. In a capitalist society, you can pretty much purchase anything, I guess, even a shaman. It's very sad. I struggle with this myself, even speaking of this concept. So the old school healers, they may live in the jungle, they may live in a cave, they may live away from you. They're not going to bow to your time, okay? They're not going to come out of the cave when you tell them to. They're not going to be bought by you. They're not going to be your pet. I don't care how much money you have. I don't care if you're the king. It doesn't matter. Those people were trained in such a way to stay in the center of that circle, to where when they came out of that cave, it had a reason. When they came out of that forest, it had a reason. It was going to be good for all. It was, if they did heal the king, it was going to be good for the people. And their way of healing was to make you self-sufficient. They did not make you dependent on them. When someone tries to make you dependent on them, question that person. They will make you ill. They will make you sick in the worst way. And we're in danger of that in this society. We are becoming so incredibly dependent even on the government. I'm not getting political. I'm asking all of you to listen to the Akash within you. Listen to the sound around you. Listen to the warning. When you give too much of your power away, you become sick. Mentally, physically, however. So the old healers, they really cared about the God within you. They didn't want you dependent. They didn't want you knocking at their door every week. They wanted their practice so that they could keep their Shakti and their prana pure. Because the minute they make you dependent on them, that clinginess is a poison. This is ST-SHA can become poisonous. Why? Attachment is a poison, no doubt. I'm not even getting spiritual. Just examine it. All of us have it. It's not good or bad, but watch what happens with excess of attachment. Excess of detachment too is a negative thing. Excess of almost anything becomes negative. But these healers knew that balance. They knew, they understood they had to guide you back to the center of your circle. So I wanted to start here, and I wanted to do a chart of a rather controversial, it could be a controversial figure if you look him up. I'm not here to say he was anything that people claim him to be. I did live in his place for many years, and I witnessed his direct disciples. And if lifestyle and character, and if direct experience speaks to who someone is more than what is written about them or said, then I can only speak highly. So I wanted to use this chart of Meher Baba because this exemplifies everything about Shadabhishaka from a high level, even down to a level where we can see it trickling into other attributes. Okay, so I have this first, and then we're going to look at the chart. I'm going to show you the dasha and when Shadabhishaka got activated, what happened. So for those of you who don't know who Meher Baba is, he observed silence for 44 years. He's known for just coming out of his cabin and saying, I'm going to be silent. He didn't give them a time. He didn't give them a reason. I mean, one of the only things I believe he said to one of his close disciples was, you know, you've been given enough words. Now it's time to live them. Okay, that's what he said. And his motto was mastery and servitude. Okay, so as you see, I've gotten images. This guy made it his life's mission to find these musts, these people that are God intoxicated. Okay, in the Shadabhishaka, remember, we're dealing with an element of intoxication here. Alcohol is one of the things that falls under. Addiction is one of the so-called shadow sides of Shadabhishaka. I would like to change that word a little bit for us all, because we're not here to damn anyone. We're here to look at what is the Atma, what is the intelligence of the person looking for when they go to escape. the first stage in healing is self-honesty. So anyway, these must become enchanted with the music of Atma. There's Atma Jyoti, which is the light of Atma. The Atma has a beautiful fragrance. When you start going inside, it has a beautiful fragrance. It has beautiful, yourself has a beautiful fragrance, inner fragrance. There's beautiful music. And when some of these sadhaks touch that, they don't want to come out. Okay, it's like alcoholism. They don't want to come out. They leave their families. They don't even put on clothes anymore. Most people think these guys are crazy. Okay, you pass them on the street. They smoke incessant cigarettes or bidis. They get very addicted to cigarettes and bidis, which is considered a so-called vice. They don't care if you feed them meat or vegetables. They're not interested in your ideas of purity. They're not interested in that anymore. They'll sit outside of a latrine. They don't care. The purity they're experiencing, they know that this world has no real purity, no real impurity. They know this world has nothing to offer, and all of its rules are silly. They look at us and think we're insane for caring what other people think, for waking up every day and going to the office, for waking up every day and living a lie. Okay, this is real honesty. This is what real honesty looks like. There's no.
So I'm in the right path. Then I also feel the same.
Yes, yes, Tokuji. I will supply you with infinite laddus. So they are addicted to this joy, and the difference with this joy is it's like your favorite song, a million bright suns are shining on them, but you can't describe that inner joy. So they don't want to move. They don't want to move, and they go towards the within. And many of them even cultivate siddhis and things that we hear about in our Shastra. Okay, so they're recognized in many villages in India. India have to bow to Mother Bharat because India is one of the rare places that will still care for these kinds of people, not put them in mental institutions, as a matter of fact, even honor them in the villages. So many of these people were known in some way that they had something odd about them, or siddhi or this or that. So Meher Baba would find them and make sure that they had a bath and food and clothing or whatever. As long as they would cooperate with him, he would serve them. And he was known for this. So he did this his whole life with the silence, okay? This was something that from the beginning to the end of his life, he did. And he was known for his interest in these kinds of things, serving lepers. He would bathe lepers. At the time in India, people thought you could catch leprosy from touching a leper. He would bathe them. And he had a particular interest in people who had moderate wealth or were middle income families that had fallen on hard times and were too ashamed to admit it to their community. Because there was a lot of shame around poverty, especially if you're a certain caste. And so he would go and look for those people, regardless of the religion, regardless of why they had their fall. So let's say it was a father who was debaucherous and he had brought ruin on his family and he had been humiliated in the community for an affair and drinking and all of this. Meher Baba never said, "Oh, you sinned. You're now I'm not going to help you," or what. No, he would seek those people out that had been humiliated, that had caused their own failure or had been cheated as well. So he would find these people and make sure that they got whatever money was donated to him, because he wouldn't take money. He wouldn't touch money, very much like Paramahansa Ramakrishna wouldn't touch money. So any money that got donated to him, he would give to these kinds of families so that they could live the lifestyle they were used to. So one of his main disciples, Erich, used to tell stories about going to find these families. I'm only giving an idea that Meher Baba spent his entire life doing this, okay? So when we think of the 11th house in charity, when we think of Shadabhashaka and Varuna's cosmic law as compared to man-made law, and the nature of that compassion, what it must be, Shadabhashaka can make extremely compassionate people. So doctor, compassion. The universal doctor is compassion. Okay, that love is the most healing thing. So this is, Meher Baba with Mus again. We're about to get to his chart. Some of them had very odd habits. Like most of these guys, people think, people thought they were mad. This guy would always put flowers all over himself. So, they all had different weird habits like that. And so you can see the definition of a must here. Okay, so we've got a Shadabhashaka sun. And now the vow is a huge element with Shadabhashaka. And it's a huge element as well with the third pada of the Shiva Trimurti Nakshatras. I'm going to be teaching classes on this finally. And guys, I'm not conventional. I'm not even professing to be professional. I am committed and devoted and consistent, and I will fulfill my word, but I'm not professing to get this done within a certain amount of time or anything like that. But those of you who are interested in learning about the Trimurti what the Trimurti Nakshatra quality does in the Navamsha and how to read that in the Dasha, I am starting with Brahma, and it's going to be 3 parts, and then I'll get to the other ones. Depending on my energy, how well I rest or don't rest at night, things like that, how well my father's doing. So I'm just being very human with you guys, but I will complete the classes. Pay close attention to the third pada, which is always going to fall in Kumbha of any Shiva Trimurti Nakshatra, because Kumbha has to do with vows. Okay, what did you commit to in the previous life that you did not complete? Or why are you coming back? See, that Kumbha pada, that Kumbha Rashi and the Navamsha can be sometimes the most difficult, hands down. So there's reasons that this happens, okay? So when it comes to vows, Varuna is probably the most heavy reminder of what you committed your prana shakti to. So when you pour the water on your hand and you say, I vow to do this, I give this oath, he's the witness. I don't know how, I don't know why, but that is his job. It heavily does show up in the Kumbha portion of the Navamsha, which makes me feel he has something to do with Kumbha in general, not only the nakshatra of Shadabhashaka, but in the nakshatra, you will see big vows happen. And it's in his second house of speech, third pada, which makes it even stronger. And look at when he took his vow of silence, his Shani Surya Dasha, Surya Antardasha. And it's a very easy thing to figure out. Now, Jaimini says the moon must be involved for an event to happen. Look where the moon was. This is the chakra for the day that he took the vow. The moon was in the third pada of Shadabhashaka going over that sun. He was in his sun Antardasha. Now, granted, he was in his Shani Dasha, Mahadasha. Now, you must consider turning the chakra of the chart to the Dashapati as the new Chandra Lagna. The reason that the nakshatra of Chandra is Janma and starts the time period you need to contemplate. Okay, that Dashapati is very important and is playing the role similar to the moon. So from the Dashapati, you know, naturally the Shadabhishaka is in the 5th house. So you could predict exactly, you know, what this vow is about. Now, where it's coming from, why it is, I mean, even down to the Stira Karka of his father. His father sat in a circle for 30 days and 30 nights without food. So, you know, it's interesting because Surya's the Char Karka of his father also took a vow to complete something called Chilanavisi, which is to sit in a circle for 40 days and nights without water or food. And he actually left the circle to drink water. He just forgot. A sheer exhaustion. He passed all the other tests and then just forgot. So here's one way that we can look at it. And let me just make sure I went through everything here. And yeah, guys, did you have any questions before I move on?
So you are given your moon is the number which is written in the last chart. You know, it's 24/3 something.
I think that is the 24th
24th nakshatra, 3rd pada.
Okay.
Yeah, Satabhisha.
Oh,
This is a program called Deva Guru, and it's you can just go to
Okay.
deva.guru, and it's really great. I like it. But yeah, so yeah, these are the nakshatra numbers, and
Okay.
this is the pada.
Okay, got it.
Yeah. Okay. So
Is it a free software, this thing?
there's a free version, and then there's like a $9 a month or something like that. And it's got all these fun features. Like I added these events in, and then if you click here on the age, it will actually show you the chakra, the transit chakra. So I love that feature because I'm using nakshatra dasha so much. I mean, Parashara says this is a nakshatra based dasha. He doesn't say anything about like he doesn't say too much about the Rashis other than when he turns the chart from the Dashapati, and he talks about what's in the 12th and 2nd from the Dashapati. He'll talk about that, but he doesn't, you know, otherwise he says this is a nakshatra dasha. Why else are the nakshatras given lords if we're not supposed to use them? And those lords change per nakshatra dasha. You know, so it's very important that we just investigate, because we don't know a lot. Us astrologers, I have to say, we need to be really careful. I'm going to talk a little about that in Varuna, because we're dealing with cosmic law here. This is the cause and effect, the law of karma that even we're creating when we harm someone from a careless reading or something like that. So this isn't the man-made laws. Like our police aren't going to arrest you for doing something, you know, like that. But what's happening to you and what's happening to the other person, that is under Varuna's jurisdiction. All those things that he silently witnesses, like Yama, right? So this is a gentleman that I refer to a lot. Those of you who have had classes with me or readings, Russell Means. I really like Indigenous elders, and he was a quite fiery one. He is an excellent example of Shiva Trimurti Nakshatras with the commitment in the commitment in Kumbha, that 3rd pada, which falls, his moon falls in the Kumbha Navamsha. And here where we're talking about the circle, I have his quotes here because I love, Adityaji, I love how you highlighted Paramahansa Ramakrishna. A lot of the sants or Paramahansas or great people like Meher Baba with Shadabhishaka, compassion is there, humility is there, and there's an inclination towards celebrating the feminine. And it's not in this way of the harshness of feminism, or I'm not speaking for or against feminism. I don't get involved in anything that's a political movement or that politicians can use. I don't want to touch that. but the honor for the soil, it's like everyone wants to be the seed, right? The seed's where all is potential, but without the soil, that potential can never realize itself. So it's like the whole tree is within the seed, but it needs the soil to grow, to realize its potential. And that growth is Shakti, that hidden energy, what that secret of the soil to unlock the potential of the seed to turn into a tree. So most indigenous people, they knew that. The people that live with nature, most of them worshiped Shakti, naturally, the mother. And they had matriarchal lineages. They respected their grandmothers, So this gentleman, his whole life, he fought against the pyramidal structure, which is a Indra. Okay. Varuna is in danger of Indra. There's not good stories between Indra and Varuna. Okay, so I know that some astrologers are saying that Varuna is Indra because of some simplistic translations of the Brahmanas, but Indra just means God. So like, it doesn't mean the literal God Indra. It's not always meaning that. We get in danger with that. So the actual Devata Indra, the pyramidal structure of masculine power, you could say, a matriarchal society, believe it or not, means to balance both patriarch and matriarch on the same level. It doesn't mean that you put the matriarch above. So when indigenous people are often referring to a matriarchal society, they're referring to balance. And so what's happened is this pyramidal society, which with an Indra at top, trying to keep everyone else down in fear of losing his power. So the ancient king, who is actually Varuna, the circle, everyone sees eye to eye. We're all connected in a natural 11th house. Remember this, humanity. We all see each other in a circle. You follow me? So like you see Paramahansa Ramakrishna, he had his circle of close disciples. So it's a circle. This man is known for saying some very interesting things. Everything sacred is round. The sun, the moon, the stars, the earth, and a woman's body, meaning, right? The pupil of our eye is round, in which we perceive the universe.
Sorry to interrupt, but here you're mentioning a good point. Now, in our university, what they are doing is, there are some courses where they are changing the shape of the table. The natural classroom is where professor stands and then they give lectures, where they sit in a rows. But now they want in a circle, so that students sit in a circle and then they discuss
the round
subjects.
Table. The round table of King Arthur. And he was considered one of the best kings because he had his knights at a table of round table. He wasn't a scared little man at the top of a pyramid trying to push everyone else down. Everyone's there. Because we wouldn't have racism, we wouldn't have sexism, we wouldn't have any of that if we just understood each other's unique qualities and were okay.
Correct.
just all of us together, right?
So that helps to discuss among students and bring ideas and all those. So they are replacing some of the classroom with circular tables now. So they say that's a better way of learning.
Yes, I love
sitting in a circular way.
Yeah, that's beautiful. So yeah, I love this saying from Russell Means that everything sacred is round, because in some way, it is coming from his Lakota culture, but it's beautiful. So, he gave so many talks about this one topic. He's a really, really good chart to study if you want to break down your idea of Rahu being a liar and being born on an eclipse is inauspicious. And if you want to just shatter that, study this man's chart. He's got an eclipse on his Lagna, debilitated sun, conjunct Rahu and moon, and he's one of the most noble characters to ever live. And he dared to go up against a tremendous injustice. I mean, his chart was when I started wondering if one of the reasons we prefer the grahas that we prefer as benefics is if they're more docile and they don't challenge the established rule. And if the reason we keep putting Rahu down is because he does challenge the established rule. So I would encourage charts like this, because if you have been bullied by an astrologer, if you have shed tears over terrible things that people have said about your chart or your children's chart, compassion. I'm holding you right now, and I'm begging you to do your research and not take what it tells me is that astrologer was at kindergarten level. And not only that, they were lacking compassion, they were lacking empathy, and they were therefore lacking knowledge. Because I was saying this to someone recently. If Jyotish is a mystery of Shakti, let's just say this entire universe is Shakti, right? She only opens her door to Shiva. So you think she's gonna lift her skirt to someone who's not Shiva? You think she's gonna show her mystery to those of us who aren't Shiva and don't have the humility to see her? And this is really, we are not Shiva. And Jyotish is a part of her divine Vidya. She's only going to show, she probably is showing us just an ankle at best. Okay, guys? And then we're going around and terrifying all these people. So please, guys, study charts like this. I mean, I myself have made tremendous mistakes. I've suffered over my mistakes in my readings. I touch the feet of anyone it's like we have to, guys, this is Varuna here we're talking about. We have to bow our heads here. We are not as ancient as Varuna. And if he is cosmic law, then he sees this. And this is the karmic law that astrologers specifically have to be careful of. So here we have Mata Hari. And I love that Togi Ji brought her forward already. She's a great example of Shadavishaka and Ashlesha as a spy in a controversial subject. She's also the great example of a chart that an astrologer would need to be very careful of, because they could send her right back home into the hand of her abuser and tell her she's inauspicious. She was badly abused by her husband, who she married at 18. He was 20 years older, I believe. So before she became a spy, before she was, known as an enchantress and a dancer, she was actually a committed wife.
True. And
had children. And she came home to a man that beat her, every time he would get drunk, which was all the time. I mean, he was known to have an alcohol problem. Now, what's interesting in her chart is if you look at the principle I was talking to you guys about, she married him under the Shadavishaka activation. She married this guy under that activation. And I do use 8 Karkas. I know, there's a lot of K and I really respect K and Rao. I'm not going to respond to any comment right now that's trying to tell me 7 Karkas are right, guys. I'm just letting you know I'm not even going to waste my time. So you guys are welcome to use 7 Karkas. I do my research. I never leave out Rahu. I think Rahu and Ketu, they're very misunderstood. So I do use an 8 Karaka system. Anything that gives birth, I'm going to use an 8 Karaka system with. So let's just assume Rahu's Dar Karka. So the Shani is activating the Rahu. Okay, and it's with the Shani, right? So the whole marriage took place in this Shani Dasha. And most astrologers I hear would probably look at her chart, say that she's got the bad character. She's this, she's that. And she was coming home every night and getting beat. Not only that, her son got poisoned by a maid that her husband was having an affair with. He was having open affairs. She had to just live with it. Okay. So think about this once again, psychology, the healing of Shada. Do not lose your center for anyone or anything. Stay as the bindu at the middle of your circle and you will stay healthy. So what happened is I really think she got psychologically destroyed. I think she got psychologically destroyed. She wanted to please this man. I mean, there's so many stories about it. It was very terrible. He wouldn't, after she was brave enough to get a divorce, which was unheard of at that time, you know, and then he punished her by not helping her care for her one last child that they had together. And that child got taken from her custody. So she had this constant suffering in the Shani Dasha and the Mercury Dasha. Those two dashas were just really rough. And you see that with Shada and Ashlesha, you see that there's a tendency to possibly get abused, okay? So I'm not trying to scare any of you with Shada. I'm not trying to scare any of you that you're going to get abused, but I do have the chakra here for her husband and her charts overlaying. Now, just using the stira karkas, you know, like Jupiter being a woman's spouse, things like that, like I did with Meher Baba, the stira karka for the father as a son, you know, in Shada, and he was the one taking all the vows, and he was the spiritual one in the family who Meher Baba took after. Well, you know, this gentleman, it's speculated with time rectification, he had a Jyeshta moon. It does change over into Mula, but I've seen very commonly that Jyeshta can be very dangerous for Shada. Okay, don't panic, guys. I'm not telling you this to scare you. There's nothing like that. Many people will have both in their chart, as a matter of fact. And there's a side of Jyeshta that is the goddess Jyeshta, who has nothing to do with Varuna and is not going to invoke that danger. Okay, so it's specifically Indra. When someone personifies the domination of Indra, it can become dangerous specifically for a female that is in a relationship with a male with Jyeshta. Okay, it can become a little dangerous because the female is the receptive element and receiving that energy. So it's just kind of interesting to look at where his planets fell. And he was also a heavy drinker, Shada sun. So anyways, I wanted to show you just the omen of a marriage happening at that time, activating all of that Shada. And if you look as well, let's see, this is the transit chakra. For something to happen, the moon needs to be involved. The transit chakra of the day of their marriage, the moon was transiting the Shada point once again. With the, if you want to consider 8 karkas, with the Dar karka, okay, with her natural Dar karka, okay. So I'm just giving you guys some ideas of how to look at things differently, because I don't see these kind of things taught very much.
Usually, isn't it considered to be not good to marry on your nakshatra day and stuff like that?
On a what day? Shada
So on your Janma nakshatra day, is it not considered to be not good?
It's not considered auspicious. Yeah. And in her case, you'd look at it and say, please don't, right? So she's someone that could have used some advice there, but you know, it really did give her her destiny as well. It is Janma nakshatra, so it is what karma she's pregnant with, you know. It's like, they say you can't change the Chandra Lagna, the chart from the Chandra Lagna, you can't change. It's Janma. It's what got you your parents. You can't just wish your parent, I have different parents and have them. It's like the thing's very set in stone from birth is moon. So it seems like, you know, she had to come in contact with this man, and this man conditioned her mind in such a way that she became harsh. You know, well, she became tougher. She became capable of doing what she did. She was an international spy, and she was actually working 2 sides. That's really what got her assassinated. And yeah, Togiji, to your point, she was fearless. She was absolutely fearless. Yeah, she was fearless. She faced death fearlessly.
Yeah, she was like not even afraid of doing the death time too. She was like, yeah, giving, I mean, maybe flying kiss to flying kiss to people during her time, and she said, I don't want to be covered while that. You can just like she died very, accepted the death in a very, bravely, I should say.
Yeah, she almost was just, she was just, and it's interesting because this is that whole point of Shadabhishaka for the individual with the circle and the bindu, is that eventually the point is to go back to the center of the self. So her dying that way, only a very centered person can face death that bravely.
And if you see her chart, you will say that Mars is debilitated. You see?
Oh, that's a very strong place for Mars.
Yeah.
I taught something on the Tantroktam Devi Suktam, Ratri Suktam from Devi Mahatmyam recently. And all of the students, we were all looking at how many athletes have debilitated Mars. And it was such a big list, I couldn't, so no, actually this whole thing, you guys know, I've been saying for years, Ucha Nicha, I don't even care. It's going to fall on deaf ears for me. I care about something else. So Ashlesha, a Naga is not a coward. You can call a Naga a lot of things, but I would never call a Naga a coward. So if you see over and over again, Ashlesha is very interesting. And I love Dr. Pai connecting Bharani, Ashlesha, Shadabhishaka, and Mitra, Anuradha, because actually, Dr. Paiji, that touches on the way that I do things with compatibility. Because I don't use a lot of I actually look for the Mitras. That's a secret, guys, for like people that will get along naturally or have something. Now that doesn't prevent other disasters. And unfortunately, there's a lot of astrologers, we got to be careful, but I'm just saying that is one thing. And all of those nakshatras actually share very unique characteristics of fearlessness. And so they're actually they go very well together in certain ways. So yeah. And once again, the Jyeshta, even though I don't know if many people would consider Jyeshta being I want to be careful because I'm not here to say anything negative about Jyeshta. Jyeshta is one of the is a very powerful nakshatra, is a very good nakshatra in many ways. I mean, it's unconquerable in certain ways, but that nakshatra does become dangerous for some of those nakshatras. So Mangal can too. Mangal can become a little dangerous for Shadabhishaka, but some of the best astrologers have Shadabhishaka. I've seen this again and again too. So it's like, I would say the warning signs come more with the people who want to inflict human law over natural law. And so her husband wanted to control her, which is unnatural. It's not according to natural law that you should do that to your partner. It might be according to human law. At the time, the husband had the upper hand of the wife. So he could beat her in public and no one, they just thought that he was disciplining her. But that doesn't mean that natural law agreed with him. So you see, this is the whole thing where that enforcement of law that comes from Mangal and that enforcement of human law that can come from things like Jyeshta, like policemen and things like that. Especially if you get like Jyeshta in the 6th house, that really kind of enforcer energy. Then it can be a little dangerous for a person with Shadabhishaka because Shadabhishaka has to discover things for itself. And once they take a vow of something, usually you can't stop them. Very much like Dhanishta, that whole Kumbha area, there's something with vows in Kumbha. So the last one I have here is Billie Holiday. And she was just another victim of abuse. I'm just kind of highlighting this here because in some way, the nakshatras that deal with natural law, they have a predisposition, like another one's Marilyn Monroe. She had the Ashlesha. I think she had a lot of Kumbha. She got abused too. They have a predisposition to get abused, almost like humans abuse the earth. you're kind of getting treated like the earth in some way, like that. I haven't been able to really figure it out. But, you know, during her, you know, I knew that that Venus was going to have something to do with it. And so she went through a very traumatic event that was, she never got human justice for. Okay, so you will see this kind of theme sometimes with Shadabhashaka, that there's a suffering in silence, or that there's, and this is why some of them will actually resort to drinking, or they'll resort to some kind of escapism. And really, before I close this, I would just like to go back to the, oops, I don't know what my computer's doing. I would just like to go back to the slide with Meher Baba and the musts, because really when people are drinking, they're looking for that self-autonomy, that self-reliance, where even the elements don't affect you. No one can affect your mood. Nothing outside of you can affect you. Think about when people become addicted to drugs, they're looking for something. And us as astrologers, we don't need to be so quick to call these people impure. We don't need to look down on them. You know, someone comes to us eating meat, whatever it is. I mean, I'm not saying you shouldn't speak to people about consequences. I'm simply encouraging compassion, because we really don't know why a person resorts to things. So Billie Holiday, on that last slide I had, beautiful woman, she actually got arrested later in life for alcoholism, drug problems. Once again, another one who was traumatized early, and in order to maintain her sanity, had to find a way to escape, because it was like a silent suffering. Apparently her mother witnessed the rape, and the man only, it was like a next door neighbor, and he only got 3 months in jail or something, and then he was right back next door. So she had to live with that terror of the person growing up from 10 years old, you know. So just imagine the early psychological conditioning of that, is that you're not protected or whatever it is. I'm not a psychologist, but I'm sensitive, so I can imagine. So our empathy, guys, our empathy here, you know, this, you could look at someone like Billie Holiday and see her arrested and see her mugshot and see that she's an alcoholic and say oh, it's because she has this conjunction, you know. It's like, this is the videos you see, guys. It breaks my heart. Look at this conjunction, Jupiter with Rahu. Oh, she's of course she's an alcoholic. Of course she's going to sin. And who are you to call anyone a sinner? Who, you know, it's like, who has not sinned? Who has not sinned? Who has not lied? Who has not sinned? So this is Shadabhashaka for me, is like, every time I see this nakshatra, I know I'm dealing with a sensitive soul. In some way, this person is looking for the music of the soul. They are looking for the music of the soul. They're looking for the enchantment. They're looking for the intoxication. Even if they're a scientist, they're looking for the wonder. And you guys with Shadabhashaka, you're different. You're different, and you've often had to go through very strange trials in life. Very strange, that may make a person more comfortable with escaping through a bottle, or chain smoking, or eating junk food, or doing whatever, playing incessant video games, whatever it is. These forms of escapism that they often give to Rahu, I never hear anyone talk about what Rahu is and why that happens. Because if, let's say, Rahu activates Shadabhashaka in the Vimshottari dasha, yeah, there's a big reason. You know, in Ashtotri, he activates Yama, Barney. Yeah. So it's like, it's interesting, that connection with the Barney, the oscillation. So in different dasha systems, you'll see that still there's a connection of Rahu dealing with those nakshatras, actually. So Rahu, if he, a lot of his stories have these very specific themes, and I don't want to go into talking about them again because I really have in the past. But if we don't have a way of understanding what a conjunction like this would do without dehumanizing the person, and while still seeing the God within the person, and what is the God within the person trying to do? I mean, this woman, I don't know if you guys know who she was, but she's one of the most talented singers. I mean, she was, yeah, music. Music was her thing. Look at her second house. She's enchanting woman. So wildly talented, impressive woman, survived serious abuse, and came out as this strong woman at one point in her life, and then at another point she fell to addiction. So it's definitely a theme with Shatabhishaka that we are looking for an alternate reality of some sort, even if that's through science. And I just want everyone to end on this note that this is really what, in some way, the mature side of Shatabhishaka is in service to those less fortunate, and is very aware of those less fortunate, and therefore it would be a doctor. You could say that, the compassion. And then the other side is Shatabhishaka, until it becomes that mature version of itself. Of course, it's going to go through, maybe some bizarre addictions, could be eating disorders. It can be anything that the person thinks they need to make a vow to, And under Shatabhishaka, I will say, be very, very careful what you commit to when you make a vow. It is the perfect star to make a vow under, but it's a very serious vow. It's a very serious vow. Yeah. So you guys have any questions for me or want to comment before Sandeep?
I was just saying, usually that's very interesting that you shared about Meher Baba and all that, so that, because one thing I want to highlight is even the Lakota thing also, the Lakota chief whom you mentioned. I always suspected a link between Rahu and Ketu nakshatras, so for instance, one Rahu nakshatra is almost immediately linked with the next Ketu nakshatra. So for instance, and this is very evident in the sound actually. So for instance, Ashwini nakshatra, one of these sound is actually last sound for Ashwini Pada 4 actually. So you find this guy, last sound of Lakota is literally having the Satabhisha thing. So usually you can say people with Satabhisha, people with belonging to a certain Ketu nakshatra is more likely to go to the closest Rahu nakshatra. And what is interesting in Meher Baba's case also, May sound, his name, May is actually falling in Magha nakshatra actually. And we already talked about how Magha is opposite to Satabhisha and all that. So you can see that. So it is very interesting to see that this Rahu Ketu nakshatras interplay, that too they go beyond caste, gender, creed kind of thing, that kind of thing. So it is very fascinating actually. So it is that is an interesting observation. Also Matahari, right? Her name is Ma sound, that kind of thing. You can immediately say that. So that was a very interesting thing to see. Very interesting to see this particular sound thing playing out, but especially through the linkage between Rahu Ketu nakshatra. Perhaps as Rahu nakshatra, the Ketu could be, these nakshatras could be going towards Ketu, which could give profound healing and all that. Perhaps that is also direction to go towards for these native, so like go within, go centering, and as you said, which is also very Ketu-like. Rahu can be external world when are you going within, which is Ketu-like, right? So that's also an interesting kind of thing to look at also. But yeah, so that's one thing I want to add. Yeah.
No, that's really interesting, Sandeep Ji. As you were saying that, I got his chart because I was curious. I was like, I wondered about your thing with the next nakshatra too, because I remembered he had something in Dhanishta, and I was like, is it in the Capricorn? I was like, no, I think it's in the Kumbha, and it is. Is Mangal is there? Yeah, as Mangal is in Dhanishta. It's fascinating. Very fascinating. So yeah, great, many great charts out there to study. That third pada of the Shiva nakshatras, so guys, really pay attention to that thing. A person will have a tremendous commitment to whatever that is. And sometimes it's, yeah, it can be very intense. This guy never got to rest. Never got to rest. That's one of the negative sides of Rahu. One of the reasons they say he creates Vata rogue is the sleep scenario. I mean, the person might have such a demand, like this guy wasn't able to rest fighting for his people. He was always speaking at this, doing that. And it just, eventually resulted in cancer. So you'll see this. And I've seen a lot with Rahu and throat cancer, and interestingly enough.
I think Rahu Dasha makes you like that somehow.
Yeah,
I'm also
Rahu
not
generally
sleeping
is
for
cancer
days
also,
now. Maybe I will get cancer probably. And
Yeah.
also,
you don't,
But you're not
sleep
gonna
and-
get it.
yeah, I'm also not
you're
able to. No, you literally so many things to do, and I need to better manage my time and all. It doesn't make me to organize things and all. I don't know. Yeah. So who knows? Anyway,
Rahu
we are going to
Nakshatra,
die one day.
Rahu, right? Yeah, so no, Rahu is definitely cancer. I've seen that. Rahu hardcore is cancer. So in fact, but interestingly, one yogi actually
We
said
are going to get
cancer is,
cancer.
but actually a yogi said that cancer is the easiest way to accelerate to get rid of karma.
Oh,
So
very
so
good.
in one way it is advantageous. So if you get cancer, you can remove. Now Jyotishis can immediately say, okay, it's a Rahu thing. Okay, you let go of karma very easily there. So, but of course, a yogi's perspective is like, yeah, you have karma, you are getting rid of it. Good
So
for
the
you.
next blessings will be have cancer. It's like-
Well, I guess all these big corporations that are giving us cancer by polluting everything are going to love that yogi. They'll say, yeah, you're taking care of karma.
Yeah. Well, you never know, right? No, that's a good point, actually. Big corporations are Satabhisha Nakshatra also. So that's also.
Yeah. Oh, God.
So the next blessing, Sandeep, anyone comes to you, you can say cancer, have cancer, and then remove your karma.
Yeah. Well, of course, it's easy to say and the thing to go through, right? So it's a different thing. But yeah, life is. Yeah, well, let's see. So I think, we'll just go ahead to my thing actually. I mean, I'm sure this is the longest thing perhaps, I don't know what the record is right now.
Oh
so
my
I think I'm
God,
sure we'll
how long?
record this time.
Dr.
But what
can cut out. I don't know.
Yeah, that's fine. So we'll continue again. But what is interesting, what I want to say is that, so of course, so I'll talk about Nakshatra right now, the Satabhisha Nakshatra. A lot of interesting things, right? So I want to highlight some of the omens that happened. So one was that there was a mismatch in time. Now time kind of karma is a real thing. So one of the things that there was an miscommunication with regard to time specifically, before this particular session was being organized. So that is a very direct thing. If you carefully look at Aquarius as the Lagna, Saturn gets debilitated in the third house of Aries. So you can see third house of miscommunication with regard to time and all that. So that's a real problem for these natives actually. That's the first thing I want to highlight. That's the first thing. That miscommunication with regard to time, you try to set up a time, you try to send an event, or you try to send a message. There's a problem with time. That kind of thing. These
And long delay.
Long delay also. No, that's the biggest point. That's the biggest point. So if whoever has been following the Nakshatra series right now, one thing you might have noticed is that the Dhanush Nakshatra thing was made last year, maybe a couple of years ago or something, but at this point, I will forget. But now it is like
September 2020, correct?
Exactly right. So it was September 2020. Now it's like, now what used to be what we were planning as like a 1 month thing, and eventually it was actually Varuna himself made sure that each of us learned what Satabhisha Nakshatra was before we could actually speak on it actually. So that's how I would like to take it actually. At least that's a positive bend of things. But then the key thing is that, there is a period of time. And as Aditya Gatli said, these natives can actually get success in the second half of their life or after some time. So it could be that initially they might have to go through some problems because Saturn is actually having his Mool Trigon exactly in Satabhisha Nakshatra. So very directly, there is a direct influence of Shani here. In fact, that is also very fascinating. Yesterday I was actually reading in certain temples, when you do Shani Homa and all that, sometimes they also, in Bengal and all that, I believe, they also worship Dakshina Kali along with Shani. So, the idea is that, okay, you're doing, Shani is going to be hard for you. Okay, at least Mother Kali is there. So at least, she'll protect you kind of thing. So that is one idea. So usually that kind of influence you can directly see, as Aditya mentioned in Saturn, Mool Trigon being in Aquarius and Rahu being the Nakshatra over there. both having a Kali kind of energy. And in general, they do have to deal with tamas as a force. That's one thing I want to highlight. So, because Saturn is tamas, Rahu is tamas, so laziness. First problem is Satyabhisha Nakshatra. Some kind of laziness, some kind of inability, or wanting to put in a lot of effort. Now, one way to let go of tamas is in general to do charity. Definitely, if you do charity, you help out others, you volunteer your time. That is the best remedy for Saturn, actually. Volunteering, being of service, and all that. That's one direct thing. Now, we talked about Multrakon and debilitation Rashi. We look at the sign that is getting, where Shani is getting exalted, it is actually Libra. Now, Libra is actually the 9th house, but it's also the natural 7th house of the zodiac. So many times these natives can actually have very karmic marriages. The marriage will teach them a lot. Very directly, you can say. We'll
It's
look at
a
a couple of cases.
vow, Sandeep. Sandeep is
It's a
a vow.
vow. Yeah, that's correct. So
Sorry to
Shani can
interrupt.
also,
It's a
yeah,
vow.
Shani is also connected with vow. So you can see how Shani is getting exalted in 9th house. They're driven by this vow and all that kind of thing. Vow to the universe, vow made by oneself and all that particular thing. You can see very easily. Now let's see. Now, and in general, the 7th house of the natural zodiac, which is Libra, is an excellent thing. So these natives might find themselves as bridges karma. They might actually have these natives might actually have karma to bridge, actually have karma forming a diplomatic kind of thing. They might be in the middle of one country and the other country. They might be in middle of one organization to other organization. They might be interacting. They might be involved in the sales of one company, trying to get clients from a different company. All these variations of trying to form bridges can be a superior kind of karma that can play out for these natives. And usually that can play out in a karmic way. They might hate the role. They might have to do it. That kind of thing. That kind of Saturn kind of way. They'll have to do it. They'll eventually accept the reality. Eventually they'll realize they'll have to work within the law and all that. Work within what is possible for them. That is very important actually. Now you might have your own personal law. Personal law could be something like, okay, I don't like milk on Friday. Whatever, right? What is that personal law? You can't do that milk thing on Friday. Is great. Okay, now you have a problem. If that company asks you to go attend an event which they are offering milk, that's a problem. That's your personal law. That's your personal circle actually, right? Now you might have the company circle. So it's a very direct thing. So what Yuji was mentioning, well, these are very important points actually. Now with Satyabhisha, the one other interesting thing I want to highlight is that this specific number of the 100 actually. Now that's a very powerful thing actually. So 100, anytime 100 people have gathered, you can say Varna is present there. Anytime there are 100 people that are present there, that energy is going to be amplified like anything. You can accomplish anything with 100 people gathering. So these natives will actually have karma with conferences. Sedona conference, like other conference, whatever, right? Any other conference, they will actually have karma with conference. They'll have to attend conferences. They'll attend a gathering. Now, in general, spiritual conferences are basically satsangs actually. So you have a satsang thing, you have a guru in the center, and there is a satsang thing happening. Usually with satsang and all that, having satsang is the ideal kind of conference anyone ideally should be doing anyways in the first place. But when you're surrounded by spiritual friends, when people are of the same vibration, same thinking mentality, or same interest, then you might see these natives come alive in a big way. So many times they might actually require to, have to travel to actually meet with similar like-minded people. And usually you see these places where the conferences are happening, they are also very special by its supports. All that kind of karma will play out. Of course, scientific community has their own conferences. Conferences are a very important aspect actually. In fact, if you publish a paper in conference, then you're kind of safe with regard to your publishing a journal paper actually, that kind of thing. So that kind of thing is already there, so at least
you are saying interesting point, Sandeep, about meeting with people, and I have some few planets aspecting Satyabhisha and all. My class is all 100 students.
Yeah, exactly.
Daily I go and interact with these 100 students.
Yeah.
So it's a
that's
platform.
Exactly that. So that's a very important point actually. So exactly your Satyabhisha Nakshatra, one point exactly opposite to that, you have Purafalguni Nakshatra, which is the platform. So you have a platform of Purafalguni Nakshatra, and they get to deal with 100 people at the same time. They actually have karma. So in fact, people with Purafalguni is also going to have karma with Satyabhisha. Exactly why plans are 7,000 aspect is falling upon Satyabhisha Nakshatra. Very directly you'll see that actually. In fact, these natives actually have karma with Varuna. That's the other way to think about that. The other way also you can see this 100 is a very important number actually. One thing you can say, and a very important point also, and one of the great points, I think it was you mentioned, the Bindu and the circle and the Bindu, right? And this is a very fundamental concept actually. Circle and the Bindu is the fundamental design concept of any yantra. you design a Shri Yantra, Bindu is there, then you have the triangle around. You have any Hanuman Yantra, whatever, right? Doesn't matter. Any Yantra you have, there is a Bindu in the center. And eventually, all the meditation techniques around any Yantra, you begin from the outer edge, then you go inwards, and finally you end up in the Bindu, in the center. That's how it is designed. Almost all puja vidhis and all that is designed towards that also. Almost every Yantra puja and all that is basically like that. So that's a big thing. Now, 100 as a number is of course very interesting in terms of one more thing called as the 100th monkey effect. So the story for that is that, so the designing the name that came about was that in Japan, they saw that when they taught about like when one particular monkey in one particular location picked up a skill of perhaps like catching a fish or getting one fruit using a stick or something, when certain that skill eventually passed on to like other monkeys, when they found out that when 100 monkeys of like 3 or 4 regions monkeys began to do that skill, eventually the entire monkeys around Japan started to display that skill. So there was something that was actually happening in the consciousness levels. When 100 people are gathered, their ideas actually come together. It's almost like the entire monkey community in Japan is actually...
Wait, pause there. I've never heard of this study, and it's incredible because it's kind of related to what Togi was asking about that law earlier, and how you can't describe whatever that intelligence is, that kind of collective. So I wonder if the number 100 has something to do with... That's incredible.
100%.
I just wanted to pause us for a minute because that's really incredible.
Exactly that. So in fact, this is the biggest advantage when 100 people have gathered together also. So think about 100 yogis gathering together. Right now, of course, in India and all that, we have 100 crore yogis gathering together in Kumbh Mela and all that. You know, that's a very direct thing. So that's why one of the best remedies for natives with the planets in Satabhisha Nakshatra or any of the fixed rashis also is to visit the Kumbh Mela actually. That's a very direct remedy because you have yogis gathering there and all that. 1 crore yogis, or what more could you want for, that kind of thing. That's a very powerful thing. So that's the advantage of going to conferences also, when you actually like, whether you are a hobbyist also, if you go towards one particular conference, that's a big thing. So the 100 is a very important thing. And the 100 monkey effect is very direct thing. So that's why they say, so for instance, right now, initially there will be like when 100 Jyotishs are gathered, so 100 people have worked on the same technique, for instance, Jyotish technique. Well, it will be very easy. Next 1,000 will gather the technique very easily. Similar as that. So that's a very direct, very important concept that plays out in many ways also. 100 people have studied a goddess vidhi or Devata vidhi or whatnot. 100 people have learned one meditation technique. Same thing. Anything 100 can actually evolve it further. That's a very powerful technique actually. And same thing. So biggest idea of that is that when 100 enlightened people have gathered together, you put 100 gurus together, great. Then the rest of the humanity will be enlightened. That's a very powerful idea actually. That's a very, very powerful idea. In fact, that was the original concept of all this satsang and all that. All this community, we talked about Brigu people and all that meeting together and all that kind of thing. You can see that was a direct thing that was happening also. Go ahead,
Guys, correct me if I'm wrong, but was Jarasandh collecting the 100 kings for that ritual? He was going to sacrifice the 100 kings.
Yes. Now that's a very important point, anything 100 is Satabhisha. Anything 100, anywhere in mythology you see 100 things being offered. Now, and bigger than that, anything 108 is Satabhisha. Now you see, these are the people who will have, like their names will be like james108@gmail.com. Anything 108. All these 108 people is Satabhisha. So 108 is a number is also linked with Satabhisha actually. That's a very important thing. In fact, the other aspect also with 108 is that 108 is a very important number. In fact, it is said that in the Ramayana, when Lord Rama was actually trying to defeat Raman, they were actually unmatched. They were equally matched actually. So he needed one extra oomph to like defeat Raman. So the only way he found out was that he decided to worship Durga. Now, when he was worshipping Durga, he had to offer 108 lotuses, but he only had 107 lotus flowers actually. So and then what Lord Ram himself had to do was that he had to sacrifice his one eye. He was about to sacrifice his one eye. He was about to humble himself to sacrifice his own one eye as the 108th lotus. At that point is when Goddess Durga came in. Now again, so then Goddess Durga came in, infused in his weapon. So anything that is involving 108 is a very powerful Varna concept. Then you can desire whatever you desire, you can attain. Simple as that. Whatever you desire can be attained with this 108 thing. Now the simplest 108 thing. Yeah, go ahead, Yuji.
I was going to ask you guys too, just quickly before you move into like other than the 100. So this intelligence, we're discussing the Shaka, right? And you're saying after 100, something catches on, and new intelligence is born.
Yeah.
It's very true with traditions often that they'll hide pieces of their tradition in different people, different devotees.
That's correct.
So that intelligence maybe hides itself a little in all of us. And if
That's
we
correct.
don't come together,
That's correct.
we don't have
That's
every
exactly
piece
correct.
of the intelligence.
That's a very correct. That's a very absolutely perfect way to put that. Because, you know, one other instance you can say is that, you know, for instance, this is easily seen. Like in the why do various gods have various names actually? So you have 60 names of Ganesha, 13 names of Ganesha, 108 names of Ganesha. So of course, you know, the god himself is actually splitting him in various particular things. Now, depending upon the tradition, depending upon the secret you want to preserve at what level and what energy, you can decide how many people should come together. So 32 people are come together, you can immediately say that kind of energy is this one person carrying 1/32 of the energy. That kind of thing. That's a direct thing. In fact, it is a very important concept actually. In fact, in certain temples, when they are actually offering something, usually when something called as Ulsavam, or when you are actually doing a festival in a temple, there are very specific kind of offerings that is offered actually. So big temples, they might have 64 offerings. 64 kind of offerings should be offered. So for instance, one temple, they'll have this dance performance. Then that is one offering. And the temple, there'll be like, you know, the singing offering. That is definitely an offering. And flower is another offering, light is another offering, all that, right? So you have 64 different kind of offering, then it becomes a Ulsam. Then that's specifically you are activating the 64 chakra and all that. Now, bigger festival that lasts for 11 days and all that, that's like 108 offerings and all that, and huge temples and all that, that is expected. So all these simple things which you assume are just taken for accepted, you know, you just accepted, taken for granted kind of thing, is having its own important offering actually. That's a very important thing. So, and as Yuvji said, that's a very 100% I do believe it is possible to actually codify knowledge also accordingly. Rahu and Ketu kind of thing, easily you can see that. Very directly, I do believe that. Now see, this is also making the same remedies is also equally powerful. So for instance, any planet plays in Satabhisha Nakshatra, when you chant the 108 Namavali, the Ashtotri Namavali of that particular deity, that is the easiest remedy. And then if you start doing, so Rahu and Satabhisha, Goddess Kali, 108 Namavali of Goddess Kali, Sun and Satabhisha, Lord Ram's Ashtotri Namavali. So now you can of course do the planetary Namavali, that is already there. You know, Moon in Satabhisha, Shiva or Krishna, Mars in Satabhisha, you can do, you know, Hanuman or, you know, Kartikeya or something like that. You know, Goddess Kali works here also. Narasimha, 108, great. You know, Jupiter, you can do Vishnu, Ashtotri Namavali, Krishna, Ashtotri Namavali. Mercury, you can do again Ganesha, Ashtotri Namavali. You know, you can also do Vishnu. Venus, you can do Devi, any kind of Devi Ashtotri Namavali, Lakshmi Ashtotri Namavali. Shani, you can of course do Shani. Shani, Rahu, Ketu. Ketu is of course Ganesha. You can do, you know, Shani is also Shani Ashtotri Namavali. You can do Kali and Shiva also. Kal Bhairava Ashtotri. See, that's the thing. So Ashtotri Namavali is a very powerful secret. In fact, Ashtotri Namavali, doing something 108 times is equally powerful. In fact, that is when you do it. And what is great about this particular concept, Ashtotri Namavali, is that you can actually connect that with the circle idea. So each name is actually going to one pada, one nakshatra pada. You have 108 nakshatra pada, you can easily do that. Now, anywhere you find 108, there is Satabhisha. In fact, you have the 108 Divyadesham temple in the Vaishnava tradition. You go to 108 thing. In Kerala and all that, you have the 108 Durgalaya. You have 108 Shivalaya. Of course, you know, each temple is going to carry that one pada nakshatra energy very easily. So that yogi who has consecrated there has actually established that particular energy there. That's the formula there actually. Very easily you can identify the formula. You have planet there, go to this particular pada temple and easily you can find that. First Namavali is going to, usually that can be linked with Ashwini pada 1. So first temple is Ashwini pada 1, second temple is Ashwini pada 2, and so forth. You can go to that exact temple and figure out the solution. And that's the exact formula. So the yogi actually identify the energy and kept it there. And then even if you go there, you'll get the exact results. So this is anything 108. That's a very powerful thing. And a bigger thing with this is that, you know, the circle is actually very powerful in terms of healing very specific aspects of yourself also. So when you meditate with that, one simple visualization technique I can always encourage is to visualize a healing thing happening around you. Very simple as that. Visualize a healing light, form a healing circle, whatever, right? All that kind of thing can be easily done. In fact, this was the same logic which the yogis were doing when they formed a healing circle of fire actually. You know, when they formed a circle of fire, they were kind of intensifying that kind of varna energy. They were trying to attain the desire for themselves, which is moksha energy. So there's pure Shakti. They were channelizing the Shakti towards moksha, which is what was happening when this did in the circle of fire. So this anything circle, anything 108 is going to carry Varna Nakshatra energy. Now the other thing is this Kumbha Rashi, which we talked about. So Kumbha is of course connected with Kumbha Mela. So in fact, from what I understand, I think even K.N. Rao believes that Jupiter in Kumbha Rashi is supposed to be good as considered to be exalted actually. So Jupiter in Kumbha Rashi is considered to be as good as exalted Jupiter in Cancer. So that's what he believes. Now, because of the Kumbha Mela happening in Kumbha Rashis and fixed Rashis and all that. But having said so, Kumbha Mela or a spiritual gathering or a satsang or a gathering or a conference is an effective remedy for these natives. So usually I recommend for these natives, instead of taking a private yoga class, take a group yoga class. You know, be part of a group action. You know, that's the easier remedy as that. So do that. That's the easiest remedy for that. In fact, Kumbha Mela is one big thing. Now, there is also a very interesting thing with Kumbha. Now, Kumbha is a big deal in temple festivals and all that. So, in fact, there is a Kalasha as it's called. Kalashatam is a big thing. So, you are bringing the Kalasha in temples and all that. In fact, that's a big thing. That's when big people gather. So, usually what happens in temples in Kerala and all that, you go to main temple, Mahashetram of the land, you take the Kalasha. When you're coming, the main priest, the main tantric would carry the Kalasha on their shoulder. You know, again, shoulder, third house and all that. You're improving that Saturn reputation in third house of Aries. And that person will carry this Kalasha all the way from main temple to the small temple where he is. And finally, he will offer it to the main deity there. And this, you can see that exactly Kumbha thing, exactly festival thing, exactly. And of course, they are capturing the energy there. And now, when this person is coming from the main temple to his own original temple, it is accompanied by a lot of people, you know, all these music instruments, all this Vadyam and all that, you know, Panchavadyam and all that as a normal thing. So you can see this exact Kumbha thing, festival karma, you can see that. In fact, some people say, Kumbha Rashi or Aquarius or the 11th house is temples because of this. Temples is because 100 people are gathered. Temple festival is happening. You know, so that's why you can say Kumbha Rashi is temple actually. That's a big thing. Now that's a big thing also. So when you're being part of a festival, being part of a group thing is very important actually, and group effort kind of thing is very much important. Now the other aspect which can be done with Kumbha, there are simple remedies I will share. One remedy which a local astrologer shared in one of these local YouTube channel, one of these Kerala YouTube channel, is that you put 11 coins, 11 1 rupee coin or 11 coins of whatever currency in a earthen pot. You hide it in along the eastern corner in your home. You hide it actually. No one should see it. That's a Rahu thing. So, well, you can get whatever you desire. You can make money out of it. Now you can modify that anyway. You can put 11 pots also. You can put 11 coins with each pot also. Key thing is that no one should see it. Of course, you are activating Kumbha Rashi very directly. That should be visible. You know. Now the other aspect, one thing I always encourage. Also, whenever you're doing any mantras. Now people say, how can you, you know, when you're doing mantras, one big thing I always encourage, after you chant mantras, if you have a copper pot in front of you, bless it with your right hand, sprinkle that water around your thing after you did a lot of mantra sadhana. So at least that water, you bless it, that mantra is carrying, water is of course carrying that energy. You can actually sprinkle it around actually. So that will actually sprinkle a thing. Now that's a very effective way to actually spread that energy around. Now in some cases, what I encourage is that if you have a lot of water, then actually form a circle around your home actually. If you have a home, if you can go around the thing, spread that circle or create that circle of water around your home. That's the effective thing. In fact, you can actually do the Varuna Gayatri mantra. Now Varuna mantra, Varuna is connected as the god of the entire waters also. In fact, expressing gratitude to Varuna before you drink water was a teaching which one of these spiritual saints actually taught. You know, express gratitude to Lord Varuna, then drink water. You know? So you can see Dr. Pai is drinking water right now. So you can see that. So that kind of thing. So like I said, right, so this particular thing is a very powerful thing actually. You know, and then of course, you know, whenever you come connected with water, you can actually do that. That kind of thing is very powerful actually. You know, in fact, the mantra charging thing is one thing I've seen that there is an effective remedy. There's a protective circle around you. You form that protective circle, it enhances. You do this for 100 days. 100% what you desire will be satisfied. Simple as that. Anything you do for 100 days. So 100 chanting a mantra for 100 times a mantra, doing it for 100 days, 100%, you can get whatever you desire. Now, of course, the problem is that you're doing this mantra for 100 days, depending upon your karma, you'll see certain days will be having a problem. Certain days you are unable to do it and all that. That's your karmic thing that you'll have to resolve. That is the exact obstacle you have to overcome in the first place to get that desire. That's a different thing. Now, the other interesting point which we talked about is also this of, I talked about Kumbha Mela and all that. I think someone mentioned about, Ashtotri Namavali. Someone mentioned about meteor showers actually. Someone mentioned about meteor showers. Now, meteor showers, something that is coming from the sky. That is a meteor showers, a lot of meteors are happening in the sky. So meteors also fall on the ground. Sometimes they can carry Rahu energy. Sometimes it can be good for you. Sometimes it can be bad for you. So all these people who gather all these rocks and all that, crystals and all that, you get one meteor, your life goes into ruin. Perhaps you could link that with your meteor, which you gather. So sometimes there's a problem with crystals you gather also. Sometimes, you gather all these crystals and some crystals are carrying negative energy and you have to check that out and all that. So usually sometimes that's a problem for these natives also because Rahu is a problem. Now, the other thing also I want to highlight, this 100 thing, one effective remedy, which I almost seen work almost, to a point I see this is the biggest. Someone say, I'm in big trouble, I don't know what to do, I need some solution. I tell them, offer 108 coconuts to a temple. But you have to offer it to the same temple. Now, see, you offer one coconut to one deity will always be happy. You offer 100 coconuts to a deity, now that deity has to actually pay attention to you at this point. But usually what happens is that, in US and all that, volunteer-run temples, they are like, we can't handle 100 coconuts right now, so, give us in like separate days or come in different weeks or something. That's a different set of problems. But 108 coconuts to a temple offered, you can offer it 9 coconuts over 12 days or 12 weeks, or 12 coconuts over 9 days or 9 weeks. That can be easiest remedy. So of course you can do it on a Saturday, that is effective, Saturn and Rahu and all that. That's 100. This is the biggest remedy I've seen working. So someone comes, I am big obstacle. This is the thing I say. Now, of course, the challenge is that, and then there is this very interesting, all these coconuts are very interesting because you see this coconut trees are the first trees that actually grow close to the coast actually. So coconuts is actually having a direct link with Varna. So this coconut-based ritual you see a lot. And of course, I'm in Kerala. You find a lot of this coconut-based rituals actually. In fact, coconut is used everywhere. So one solution can actually be to use coconut in your diet. Drink coconut water, have the coconut milk, whatever, right? Use coconut kind of food actually. Use coconut in your diet also. That could be helpful. Of course, coconut water is very helpful, mineral and all that. That is very good. So that is a big thing. So 108 coconut. Now, the other alternate thing is that when a festival is happening in a temple, offer 108 coconuts there. That is one thing. That is also an easy solution. Festival is happening, they need food and all that, offer it. In fact, the other solution also, now this is the simpler version of solution, which I think also works, is that even if you're unable to offer 108 coconuts, just offer 11 coconuts to a temple on a day. So they might use it for their prasad or whatnot. That's the easiest thing. Also, I can encourage. Now, I've been talking about temples also. Now, one big thing I want to highlight, and this is one very powerful remedy. A most powerful remedy, in my opinion, is that if you look at Satabhisha Nakshatra, that's the 11th house. Exactly opposite that is Pura Phalguni Nakshatra and Magha Nakshatra. Of course, Magha Nakshatra is where the king is seated. Pura Phalguni Nakshatra is the Nakshatra of contracts also. If you want to get the easiest way to fulfill any business or you have a big ambition or whatnot, is to actually form a contract with the deity. Now, don't form the contract with the devil. That's a spiral downwards, but form a contract with the deity. So go to a god, go to a temple, go to this particular deity, tell, okay, God, you are my business partner at this point. And then whatever money I make, you will be getting 10% of my income or 1% of the income or whatever that percentage, you decide that. Once you decide that, and then you are formed that. Now it's a contract with the god. Now it's like an oath, like, what you are saying. Now you actually form a business partnership. As long as the business is making money, you have to give that money no matter what. And you'll be surprised. Now you have and of course you have to have a daily practice with that particular deity in your own home also. That's also ideal. Ideally, I would encourage you have to form a deity with a temple deity, and then that similar kind of energy should be worshipped in your own home. Now that's the easiest thing. When this particular repetition is happening both at home and the temple, it becomes a very powerful way to get whatever you want. And I've seen business people who have done that, a lot of money. In fact, 100 crore plus, I've seen that. Serious people who actually do this particular thing, 100 crore plus. And they do a calculate percentage actually. They'll say, okay, 10% is going to this particular temple, they'll do that actually. I've seen that. So it's a very powerful thing. But I'm saying, even a local temple deity will actually give you that. That's the other thing. That's a big thing I've seen also. That's very powerful actually. So all these gods and gods, exactly. So Magha is like the throne where the deity is sitting. Pura Phalguni is the contract. So when you form that contract with the deity, that's a very powerful thing. So that is one thing. Now, the other thing I want to highlight is, anywhere 100 is coming, that's they coming. Now, of course, in this day and age, the 100 is basically like in all these forums and all that. You find all these people on Reddit, people who are having this come with social websites and all that, Facebook, social media and all that, where 100 people are gathered in this day and age. 100% Satabhisha Nakshatra natives will have a problem with that. So they'll have this karma of social media and all that is expected. Either they'll have to learn the social media, or they'll have to learn to deal with that, or they might be part of a crowd within their forum. So one forum is having its own law, forum wars and all that kind of thing is a normal karmic thing they might have to deal with. So usually you'll see Satabhisha Nakshatra native have this karma of community gathering, this arguments within community, all that. Now, a big thing also I want to highlight here is that usually because Saturn is controlled with darkness and Rahu is also controlled with darkness, usually in general I've seen when these natives chant mantras in the night time, it is more effective. Usually that would mean you're honoring goddess Kali or one of those darker deities like Shiva and all that. So you're chanting mantras for Shiva nighttime is more effective. So I was saying sometimes in practical level, they're much more keen to get a lot of work done in the nighttime. Now, of course, this can also apply to Purafagni or Magha Nakshatra natives also. They might have a nighttime thing, in my opinion, that also plays out. Now, the other thing, as I mentioned, is that, as I mentioned, this Rahu, Ketu Nakshatras are linked, in my opinion. So Satabhisha Nakshatra is having an energetic link with Mula Nakshatra also, in my opinion. So there might be a history which these Nakshatra natives are having to deal with. So you'll see that play out in many ways, actually. So could be that these Nakshatra natives could be incredibly psychic with herbs, with plants. They might have an intuitive connection with plants, actually, because Mula Nakshatra, right? They could literally talk to a plant. Now, see, there's the other interesting also. One important thing here with Satabhisha Nakshatra is also because circle, I talked about circle a little bit. Of course, circle is also very important because circle is also a garland. So one effective remedy is that you find all these people offering mala of rupees and notes and all that to a goddess. And nowadays that's what happened, temple and all that. But you can actually offer a garland of, people also offer a garland of flowers, which is a Venus kind of thing. You can also offer a garland of lemon mala, lime and all that. You can offer a garland of anything. Some people do that, So you'll find that these nakshatra natives have a tendency for that kind of karma. That is also effective remedy. Offering a garland to that particular deity, flower garland or some kind of garland to that deity is an effective thing. Now, usually, if you have a malefic there, either one of your necklaces you have is gone or something like that. That kind of karma will be there. That will happen to necklaces actually, because the garland necklace is also circle. If you look at that, it can also be a bracelet. It can also be a bangle. Now, usually, other remedy also for these nakshatra natives is usually to give a bangle to a deity. So that's the other thing. So sometimes you actually see these remedies also. You want to get married, give a bangle to this particular deity. That's also one more thing. Again, Saturn is getting debilitated in the third house from Aries, which is third house of hands also. So bangle there is an effective thing, especially to a goddess and all that. Kuldevi and all that. That's one more thing. Now, of course, this Mula Nakshatra, one more energy thing is Milky Way connection. So Milky Way definitely is very powerful. Meditating on the Milky Way and all that is extremely powerful thing. So usually these nakshatra natives will be linked with the law, cosmic law, all that, excellent Mula Nakshatra themes and all that. Many times they might have to dig their own history in terms of finding peace within and all that. That kind of thing will actually play out. And of course, Satabhisha Nakshatra is also connected with zoo and all that. So usually I encourage gathering of animals happen in zoos. So they'll be finding themselves in zoos, walking where animals are present. That will actually calm them down actually as an effective remedy to recognize that there is one animal within us which can calm down, right? That there is a deer within us, there is a lion within us, that kind of thing as an effective remedy for this native actually. That's something I can really encourage. Now, what was interesting further, and I couldn't help notice, but is that how even when you are making this video, like how Aditya mentioned gulab jamun and all that. Now, gulab jamun, if you look at, that's a perfect Satabhisha kind of food, because you look at that. Now, gulab jamun, you have like water pot, right? You have to drink gulab jamun in the syrup, right? You have the gulab jamun, the gulab thing is there actually, right? It's the sphere thing. Now, this is a big thing with Satabhisha. In fact, you have all this rasagola also. Rasagola is considered to be like not so good if you have that, if it's not in a syrup thing, right? So in fact, there's the other thing also. Sometimes in these lands where there are Varuna energy is present or Satabhisha energy is present, the dishes or the sweet dishes will also reflect that kind of energy. That is also, it's not surprising actually. So that is one thing I want to highlight. In fact, laddus are also spheres, right? So in fact, one remedy I say, when festival time Shivratri is happening, donate 108 laddus outside the temple. When the festival is happening, just donate, people who are coming and going to devotees give 108 laddus or whatnot. Of course, depending upon the color of the planet, you can donate that particular thing. Now, key thing is that you're helping the people come together and all that. Now, this need not be laddus itself. This need not be gulab jamun also. You can just donate 108 glasses of water also. 108 coffees also, 108 lime water also, lime juice and all that, right? That kind of thing is perfect actually. And I had a client who actually did that, and they attained a lot of success. There's a Punjabi client, a Sikh client who actually offered lime water outside a Shiva temple, in a Shivratri, and 3-4 months later, they actually became famous in that region or something like that. So sometimes you get quick results when you offer things outside a temple or when a gathering is happening. So when a community event is happening, offer water. Community event is happening, offer lime juice, some sweet drinks and all that. Easiest remedy with Satyabhisha. Anything 108. That is very powerful. In fact, then the next set of points are going to be more esoteric. One thing I saw with Satyabhisha, the big thing with Satyabhisha is, of course, I mentioned 108 is a circle. But the secret of Satyabhisha, in my opinion, is that it's not just a circle, it's a sphere. It can be sphere. So I already talked about laddus. Laddu is a spherical thing. In fact, anything you actually cut a laddu with, it's a.
You're reminding about gulab jamun in my fridge now. I need to have that. It's there. I just remembered.
Yeah, they're good, right? So good. Now see, that's the other thing. So again, Rahul's
fridge, Kogi's not snacking.
Yeah.
Yeah,
so this thing
really hungry now.
Yeah. So this is the other aspect also. Sphere is a big thing. The sphere is also a ball shape. So it's not by accident that one of the most popular sports in the world right now is 11 people chasing after a ball. Which is like football or even cricket also. Cricket, they have, of course, other thing, but you see that actually. Satyabhisha is the reason why that is actually happening. So this ball karma is actually there. So many times I've seen they like to be part of events. They like they like to actually go after this. They want to be part of this group thing, and that is what will actually be a very powerful remedy for them. In fact, the spherical thing is a very powerful thing also. Usually I encourage this particular thing in which you find yourself covered, this visualization thing in which you find yourself covered by a sphere of golden light or sphere of white light or whatever. Now, usually these natives might already be doing some kind of meditation like that. There's a good possibility for that also. Spherical thing is also one more thing. Now, the other aspect also, and sphere is also pointing to a very interesting idea, which is this idea of a loka actually. So you might be part of an entire world. So usually they say, when one loka, so Brahma loka, Vishnu loka and all that, or you have Shani loka or Mars loka, Mangal loka and Surya loka and all that. So this loka is a very interesting idea. Loka points to this group or a loka, a world where a particular energy or a consciousness or a vibration is present. So usually these natives might actually have karma with lokas actually. So that's one big thing in my opinion. Now, in fact, what is interesting, in fact, one of the stories of story with regard to Yama, it is said that Yama was actually cursed by some rishi to be born as a Shudra. And when he was born as Shudra in the Bhuloka. Now again, remember Bhuloka is also Loka. Great.
I'm having my gulab jamun now.
Yeah, so you can see that gulab jamun. So no, actually, when Yama was actually born as a Shudra in the Bhuloka, he was actually born as Vidur actually. Vidur was the one who actually wrote the Vidur Niti and all.
Oh, that's right. He was.
So you see that?
He was the most prolific Mahamantri that had ever been in the lineage. Actually.
Yeah, exactly that. So of course, Vidur kind of thing. So, but of course, the story is like he had to be Vidur for 100 years at least, and then only he could come out. And it said that he had the substitute of Aryaman was actually the Yama for that time period. And usually you find these natives, in fact, they might have to go to a different world of sorts. They might have to go to a different loka. They might have to go to a foreign land, be amongst different kind of community. So they might have to be surrounded by foreigners actually, and they might actually have karma there. And they might feel like, okay, what am I doing in this loka thing actually? But they have some karma to fulfill. And of course, usually this can be a karma that may fulfill by 100 things. Like in my opinion, could be 100-year karma, or could be like 100 aspect karma, or more likely it's like 100 thing to be fulfilled actually. So 100 tasks to be fulfilled. And
Vidur was with Kauravas. They were 100 in number, correct?
Exactly that. So in fact, that's a big secret also.
But he withdrew. He withdrew when Duryodhan got too divisive, when it got too nasty. The whole thing got too messy. He actually withdrew.
Yeah. At the last moment, he withdrew. But he had to suffer those 100 people karmas, correct?
Yeah. Yes, exactly that.
He had to witness the game, the dice. I think Krishna gave Bhishma the order, and they couldn't interrupt it. So he had to just witness it. Yeah.
So it's very interesting. You see many times, and this is a very important point actually. Many times these natives have to witness disasters happening. That's the actual karma. That's a very important point. They just become witness to disasters happening. Could be happening in their own home, family, or in their community. They might be part of a massacre thing. There's a history of massacre happening in a thing. part of a violence thing happening in there, whatever, right? That kind of thing. Could be like a brawl happening in bar also. Could be something like that. That kind of thing. They might have to bear witness to it also. That kind of karma, fighting or bearing witness to a problem, is a very important karma that will play out actually. And they might just find themselves in the middle of it. That's a very important point actually. The key thing is that they find themselves in a different loka. That's a real karma. And in fact, the other side of it, the dangerous side of it is that they can create their own lokas also, which is a different point. You create your own universe and you are stuck in that loka. That's a different set of problems also. So you create your own imaginary universe, that's a different set of problems. You create, and then you are the king of the universe you live in, and you go attack everyone, different set of problems, right? So that's a different kind of thing also. And that is a problem also. That's a real thing they have to learn. Eventually have to learn the boundaries of their own loka. Now, in fact, the positive side of it is that sometimes they can be actually taken to other lokas. Could be that they might be taken to Vishnu loka. Could be that they are taken to one of the other lokas. So sometimes their dreams can be extremely vivid. In fact, dreams is also Swapna loka. So sometimes they might actually have karma or dreams actually. So, the rest of the world is sleeping, but they will still be doing some karma. So that can actually be a real ST-SHA kind of karma actually. That's a very important thing in my opinion. In fact, and Dr. Pai also mentioned about vortexes actually. Very good chance that they have already encountered vortexes actually. Very good chance for that. In fact, vortexes can happen in sea. Sometimes this can also be like a physical thing, like someone is lost in a sea current or something. Or sometimes it can be very close to, they are spending time in the sea, they feel like they are transported to a different loka, healing happens, all that kind of thing. Now, this is a very powerful thing. Now, many times all these lokas is always guarded by some kind of being. And you see that in temple outside of the entry point, and that is the Makara thing actually. So all this Makara, what the Vahana Varna is actually a ferocious sea monster. And on top of the temple doors and all that, before you're about to enter into a temple, you see this ferocious kind of monsters up the thing. In fact, Makara is considered to be equivalent of Rahu. It was said that Rahu was cursed to be Makara actually. There is a story like that. In fact, and Rahu actually is now this is the other hidden point. The entrance of a home is Rahu also. Anytime you are entering into a loka, that is also Rahu is present there actually. So in fact, you have all these ferocious monsters there. So ferocious looking creatures, that's also one more thing you can see also. That is one more thing. Now, one of the final points I want to, two more points. One is this. One is the idea that you can, in my opinion, Shravana is also linked with ST-SHA nakshatra. That is my opinion. Because Shravana is 108 Ashtotri Namavali. ST-SHA in my, Shravana is basically the Sahasra Namavali. ST-SHA is basically the Ashtotri Namavali. In my opinion, if there is a way in which you can connect both. In fact, you see this is very interesting. Vishnu Sahasranama was shared by Bhishma Pitama, but he was lying on 100 arrows to share it. So you see this very, very interesting complementary energetic link happening there. And ST-SHA nakshatra, for instance, you might have the karma, these natives might have karma to travel to a different loka of sorts, which is also Shravana. So travel 3 steps kind of thing. That is also one more thing. And, so there is a hidden link in there, in my opinion, along with the other link which I mentioned. Of course, the other linkage is also there, which we talked about earlier. And I've seen a native was running a planetary dasha of ST-SHA nakshatra. They connect with a native, they are good friends with a native who's having planets in Anuradha nakshatra. So this Varna Mitra can actually play out literally in terms of dashas. Both are running simultaneous dashas. One is in ST-SHA, other is in Varna. And of course, Urvashi could be like a Rohini or something. They could be falling in a love triangle kind of thing with a Urvashi or something like that. That kind of karma could also play out. Now, of course, many times with
now that we have expressed a very good point. That's why we were having problems. You see, Narli Purnima is Shravana. It is in the moon is in the Shravana nakshatra, but praying to the ocean.
Yeah.
So again, Shravana and ST-SHA playing.
Yeah, exactly. So I think there is something that happens when you're dealing with symmetrical kind of thing about the Dhanishta actually. So two neighboring nakshatras or Dhanishta.
What is the third nakshatra in the nakshatra cycle? What is the third
nakshatra? Vipat nakshatra. Third nakshatra is Kritika, right? Yeah, but it's Navtara is Vipat
Navtara system, because if from Shravana, I think you are Shravana, Dhanishta, ST-SHA. So I don't know.
And then then of course we must not forget that it is the Bhavad Bham of the 12th house. So there is a moksha component here also. You can actually achieve moksha through seva. That's an actual thing, so you can actually achieve through that. In fact, that is the hidden point here also. So in many ways, ST-SHA nakshatra being the final Rahu ruled nakshatra in the Vimshotri Dasha system, there's a very powerful potential for deep spiritual awakening here. That I do think that exists, very strongly it exists, and that is a very important thing. And and this perhaps my last couple of points. One point is that ST-SHA nakshatra is circled, but I do believe not only can it be extended to a sphere, In fact, you have this Buckminster fullerene thing, right? This fullerene molecule is a sphere kind of thing, actually. It's a very interesting, Buckminster is the guy, but fullerene is the molecule, I believe. It's a spherical thing and all that.
Oh yeah,
so
C60
you have a very interesting C60 molecule.
There's a whole lot
yeah.
of research happened in
Yeah.
2010, I can say, about my
yeah, that's a lot of healing thing, a lot of potential thing, all that you can do with that. In fact, the other thing also, that's a sphere thing. But what I believe is that
it's very stable. It's one of the very stable molecule, they say, in interstellar space. Yeah.
So it was very interesting when Yuji mentioned the Lakota guy saying that, sphere, the round is the nature's object and nature's shape and all that. It was very interesting, actually, to see that. You see that playing out at many levels, actually.
That's
now,
interesting.
one final thing.
Sandeep ji, what you just said about the round being sacred, but also if you notice, Yogi ji just said, he said it's one of the most stable forms. And Shakti's desire is to be stable and not unsteady.
Yep, exactly. So many times they might find themselves part of a round thing. They might have karma with circles and all that. They might have circle of friends. They might try to maintain stability with their circle of friends. All that. Usually Satabhisha Nakshatra is a club nakshatra. Which club do you go to, right? That's the thing. So do you go to the gentleman's club, or do you go to the Seva club? That's the thing. So if you're you can decide. That's the thing. That's a Satabhisha thing, actually. Depends upon your route. Now that's a very important point. Points to the final point which I want to make. Now the hidden thing, in my opinion, with Satabhisha is not just it's a circle. And in fact, the whole thing is that like I mentioned, the Enzo circle, you actually draw that. It is actually a spiraling circle. That is what I believe. Now the spiral can be going upwards, or the spiral can be going downwards. Like I said. So either you can be going towards good things, or you can be going towards negative things. That's a very important one. But key thing is that there is an actual potential for deeper spiral thing here, actually. In fact, what I believe, astrology is actually, if you look at Dasha systems and even the Bhrigu Chakra Padhati and all that, you begin to see the whole ideas that are going in a spiral around the entire zodiac. But each spiral is a different thing. So the first 12 signs is basically moon cycle. Second 12 signs that you're going around a spiral, actually, basically. So in my opinion, it's not just a static circle. Of course, static circle has its own importance and all that, but it's also a dynamic circle that is also moving. That's a very important point. And that's a very important thing. And I think that is also having a lot of secrets within that. And if you combine that particular logic with the sphere and all that, there's a lot of esoteric secrets you can do with that, in my opinion. In my thing, that's a big clue with that. In fact, I do believe when you're doing the Ashtotri Namavali, you're perhaps creating a circle around you. But when you're chanting the Sahasranama mantra, you're actually going around the sphere around you. That's what I truly believe, actually. So that there is an aspect, perhaps you could divide this smaller, the whole, that the pure divine consciousness is actually fragmented into very specific thing and all that. And of course, great souls will be able to recognize that, actually. And then people who are actually in the middle of that, like Yuji mentioned in Meher Baba and all that, who actually recognize that very easily. They don't see the difference between the other fragments, this fragment versus that fragment. They don't see a difference between that. They see it's all one and the same. So that particular thing is also one more big thing, I would say. Now, of course, the final thing I would say is linked with oceans. So of course, oceans are powerful healing. And, this usually you'll see these natives will have like this Aquaman, they'll be a fan for that particular actor in Aquaman and all that. They'll perhaps like Shiva a lot. Shiva is of course carrying a trident, which is very interesting, that Poseidon is actually carrying a trident. Neptune is also carrying a trident and all that. So all these deities who are carrying a trident is very powerful. Many times the sea can be healing for you also. So many times the sea can also give you answers also. So sometimes rituals being done in the sea is also equally powerful. In fact, you see that sometimes Varna Mantra Japa is done, like you go into the ocean, and that's where the Brahmins actually chant the mantra, actually. They are not doing outside there, actually. Of course, mantra chanting in the ocean is hardcore, not easy thing, but that's also one important thing. Now, I would also encourage one final thing that can be done as an effective remedy for Satabhisha Nakshatra is offered to simply have a routine, because the nakshatra opposite to that is Pura Falguni Nakshatra, get a Shivlingam. A Shivling. Now, ideally, I would recommend a stone Shivling or a crystal Shivling. I would not recommend a marble Shivling, but stone Shivling is quite good, because that's black in color. Crystal is like Venus, so that's great. So then you're actually offering 108 times Abhisheka upon the Shivling. So 108 times Abhisheka upon offered is also effective remedy in terms of completing the Satabhisha Nakshatra. And if you do it for 100 days, a lot of problems will be solved, actually. At least do it for Saturdays, which is Satabhishas, Saturn, Mool Trikon, Nakshatra. And then I think the only final thing, as people are discussing laddus and all that. So I was just thinking how like mushrooms, right? How mushrooms is also having a circle thing. How mushrooms could be powerful healing, actually. You could perhaps find a lot of healing thing in mushrooms. and how this reishi mushrooms and all that is very powerful and all that. So that is also one last thing I had actually. But yeah, so these were the points I want to share with Satyabisha. So, but that's what I have to have. Now this is the end of a long video.
We've
But any comments?
time is circular.
I do believe time
We've
is circular.
transcended the time barrier. Time and space are no longer.
Yeah.
I guess this may be the longest video. Who knows? But I don't know. Yeah.
I think.
But see, when you talk about what is the speciality of we go around the temple?
No, that's a big
Oh,
one.
that's a
Actually
good
going around.
point. Yeah, Navgrahas, you circle 9 times.
And especially the person, in Hinduism, when a person is dead,
Circle the
when you keep the fire,
oath and wedding.
Yeah, and then they put that water. So there is some element of
water,
Exactly.
yes.
No, in the pot,
is around the wrist. I mean, most things commitment-wise are circular.
In
So
fact,
what is the specialty of that?
In fact, the one remedy which a client shared, which a Brahmin advised to this client, was that if you desire a husband, go around this temple 108 times. But then the client made the mistake of washing her feet after she went around that small temple 108 times. You should not wash your feet. The energy Shakti is stored in your feet actually at that point. So going around a temple 108 times is a very powerful way to activate that. Of course, the circumambulation, exactly, you're doing Satyabisha thing actually. Anytime you circumambulate a temple, at least 3 times you circumambulate a temple, right? That's what normally people do. The 3 times Shravana, you can easily see that. Each loka kind of thing.
Everything's doing it, right? It's like everything's circling the. It's very fascinating. You could say the planets are orbiting the sun. Is that why we orbit Agni?
Yeah.
That's why we circle Agni, just like the planets are going around Surya.
Yeah.
And what is the specialty of person when they died? When you're lighting a fire to your father or some mother or someone, they carry a pot again, kumbha, in that water, and then they put a hole, and then that person has to go 3 times.
Yeah. So you're helping them go from the loka to the other loka actually.
Maybe because it's a perfect Satyabisha theme. Pot, water, going 3 times. It's all Satyabisha theme before lighting that fire. I don't know. What do you think, Dr. Pai?
Dr. Paiji.
But what I was thinking when Sandeep was speaking, there were 2 things which came to my mind. One is the story of Shishupal. Is my video okay? Can everybody hear me?
Oh my goodness, you're absolutely right. Shishupal. Yes, a great story.
Yeah, that's correct. Yeah.
So Shishupal, when he was born, he's the nephew of Krishna. First cousin. About 2 sisters, and so he was requested because Shishupal, when he was born with 3 eyes and 4 arms, so he was deformed. So his parents wanted to discard him, thinking that it's very devilish. So an Akashvani, which means a prophecy which came and said his time has not come. And then it was Krishna who would be slaying him. So as a mother, she requests Krishna that, at least 100 of his offenses you have to forgive.
Correct.
Now, the 100th offense that Shishupal committed was at the Rajasuya Yagna, and he humiliates Bhishma about his oath of celibacy. Okay.
Yes.
That was his 100th mistake about it. Bhishma can be kind of
Oh no, Dr. Pai.
I think Dr. Pai has some karma with Satyabisha. He gets interrupted with.
He's right. This is a fantastic story because it is. The last insult, I think, is towards Bhishma because he keeps insulting all of them. Yeah. And Krishna lets him keep going. Krishna encourages him, I believe, to just. What else?
So I think that is also true. So I think perhaps that is very important principle that you can limit allow patience to be a virtue, but someone does it 100 times. You need not be bound by that. You can do what Krishna did actually. So I think that
Dr. Pai. Yeah, Dr. Pai. Yeah. So Bhishma,
My internet is very, very bad today, very poor.
No, your karma of ST-SHA is getting cleared up. No worries.
Yeah, that's good. So I was talking about this Shishupal. Shishupal is Shishupal was the last incarnation of the gatekeeper of Vishnu, which is Jaya. That was the last incarnation after which he would be going to Vaikuntha Loka. Now the 100th mistake that he did was humiliating the Bhishma. Bhishma can be correlated with Shani because he's the eldest in the family. He's very old. Yeah. So and then you can see what happens. The 101st mistake he does is humiliating Krishna again, and that was when he uses his Darshan Chakra and he hits it. So the 100th one mistake is about Shani. So ST-SHA people should not do anything which goes against humiliating the elderly, because it's also the moon trikona of Saturn. And the third house from it, which means the third bhava, which is Aries, is where its stability is. Third house is connected to your neck and your shoulder. So, Shishupal was beheaded because of his 101st mistake. So till 100 mistakes is as per the agreement with his mother, he was even, his offenses were pardoned by Krishna. So somewhere I feel there is a connection between ST-SHA and the 100 number and with Shishupal. That's very important. Another thing that I came to my mind is people celebrate something called as Sahasra Chandra Darshanam. It is also called as Sahasra Purna Chandrodayam. Sahasra Purna means 1,000 moons, full moons you must have seen in your lifetime. And that usually happens around 80 years and 10 months. So roughly the 81st birthday in India, we celebrate with a special festival for the person, saying that the person who has survived for 81 years has seen 1,000 full moons in their lifetime. So typically that would be, if you go to Wikipedia and see, it is about 29,530 days that you have survived. So that is roughly about 80 years and 10 months. One more thing that I wanted to contribute, as Sandeep has already said, he's talked about Kumbha. Many temples in southern parts of India, they perform something called as Sahasra Kumbha Abhishekam, which means there are 1,000 or Sahasra, or 1,000 kumbhas, pots of water and other things, coconut water, they use milk, they use shira, which is milk, or they use dahi, which is curd, and different abhishekam. So if you can participate in such sort of programs, I think it will be excellent. If you can donate to such Sahasra Kumbha Abhishekam that is happening in any temple, especially if it's happening in a Shiva temple or a Durga temple, it's very significant.
You also mentioned about Rudrabhishekam earlier also, Dr. Pai. You also mentioned about Rudrabhishekam. No, you also mentioned about that earlier, like doing Rudrabhishekam and all that is also effective remedy here. So that's also an Abhisheka ritual, exactly like you mentioned also.
Yes, I think those things I would highly say. And anything that is related with the 100 number or 1,000 number, as I think Sandeep was also, because I was hearing from the background, I was doing some other activities as well. I have to go for an appointment that keeps shifting. I think, ST-SHA, it was at one time, then another time. Now again, I got a call saying that no, you have to come after this time.
Dr. Paiji, this is exactly what I was trying to express at the beginning, that it has nothing to do with man-made. It's like, you're getting reminded. It's like it's going to happen whenever nature.
So I had a appointment this morning, and it kept getting shifted. So I think the time has not come for my dental work to do it. But wherever the time is, right, I think that's when this will happen. So I had to stay back on for this. Otherwise, I would have left. In fact, I also had another consultation. I told you I have to leave at 7:30. Then also postponed. So I think something is happening despite all these interruptions that we are getting today because of my internet, Aditya's internet also, I think but I think we had to do some great. I leave it to the rest of the panelists to add, but these 2-3 points had come to my mind. And one more thing, I also feel like Sandeep was mentioning, because we are talking about 100. So anything to do with the Sahasranama, I think we said Vishnu Sahasranama for Shravana Nakshatra. But also remember, from Shravana Nakshatra, Satabhishak Nakshatra is a Vipat Nakshatra, the third Nakshatra. So any kind of Sahasranamas based on the planet which is sitting there, for example, Venus is sitting there, you can do Lalita Sahasranamam. If it is Ketu, you can do Ganesha, Sahasranamam.
Dr. Pai, on that Sahasranama point, in fact, I found that only Shani has the Sahasranamam actually. Shani actually has a Sahasranamam. I didn't even know that, But what I encourage also for natives to actually study, to learn the entire 108 namas by heart, or to learn the Sahasranama by heart. That's also very powerful remedy actually. When you learn it, then the circle of protection is there around you all the time. So that I can really encourage also. So that Sahasranama is a very powerful thing. But when I saw Shani Sahasranama, okay, that makes perfect sense why Shani would have a Sahasranama, with Satabhisha and Shravana and all that.
Yeah. So fantastic. So Eve and Aditya also, you had any other points? Just some of these points that came to my mind. So
I have no point.
No, I guess
beautiful, though. It's amazing. It's amazing.
Saturn makes it some delay with Satabhisha is really. We saw that in our video too, and we saw whatever we have after 1.5 years. So it's like a lot of delays coming in. So that's one thing, of course, with Saturn's effect.
Shaka moons, Togiji, I don't mean to interrupt you at all, but I've noticed the rescheduling and the waiting. That's what I was trying to express. It's hard to articulate because it's not that the person's not fulfilling the commitment. It's something about going with.
Correct. But some element of delay will be there because of the Saturn's effect. Somehow, I feel.
Yeah, to man-made time. It's a delay to man-made time, but it's happening exactly the time it should. I guess that's how to express it. Yeah.
Or maybe with the delay, it's when you say that it is exactly happening with man, that with the natural law, induced with delay. Maybe that's one thing of it. Maybe
it seems like delay to us. Definitely.
Yeah.
Well, one thing I'll just add quickly that I think is that nowadays you have all these crowdfunding initiatives. Now you have this decentralized founding. So money obtained through crowdfunding, fundraising, Kickstarter, and all that. In the Kickstarter, Kick is Saturn, right? So you can see that why it would start you. That's a crowdfunding Satabhisha thing. Also, that is a crowdfunding initiatives. Also, I've seen this crypto kind of thing. So Satabhisha natives by default they'll go towards crypto. I've seen that can be good for that, depending upon the planet also. I mean, cryptocurrency kind of thing. I'll see they've been good at that also, because Rahu is also outside decentralized cryptocurrency, blockchain, and all that is also like a Rahu Satabhisha kind of technology, a circular kind of technology, in my opinion. So that's also one more point I want to add.
It's really interesting because Ketu can be very specific with time. Actually, there's 1 or 2 things that happen with Ketu that either he's on invisible time. It's usually not in between, but I find it fascinating. I find Revati has a thing with watches often.
Yeah.
So Meena Rashi has that link with Ketu.
Yeah.
Something with small machinery, small, and with numbers and time and all of that. But there's something about, I don't know whether it's the abstract intelligence of Rahu in Kumbha. Actually, Shani is definitely going to take his time. Okay. You're not rushing that guy. And then you've got Rahu's element, which I debate a lot. I really, when I do my research, I try to remain very objective about this. And I've noticed that one thing I see with Rahu over and over again is his link. I know everyone talks about technology and science and unnatural things, but I see a lot with these people that fight for nature. These activists that are fighting for natural things, actually. I'll see that very commonly. And I'll notice that for instance, Parashara mentions that he's the jungle person, the person that lives in the jungle. So, I mean, they don't have a concept of the time that we do. So it does make me wonder about Kumbh with this, like how vastly different it may be.
Yeah, I think if you go to the Caribbean, they have their own time. Nothing going to open at 10 a.m. and all that. So yeah, Caribbean time runs, so
No,
that's true.
But in astrology, which planet is for time?
Saturn, right? Saturn Rahu, right?
Well,
Surya,
everyone says
let's
Shani, but see, this is where we need to get real distinct, because Shani causes the traffic jam. He's the one that maybe teaches through time, but but we actually
Surya,
we call Surya Kal.
Kal, yeah.
It's one of his
Surya
names,
Kal.
and he's the most consistent. He never goes retrograde. See, the moon actually bounces all over, even though the moon doesn't go retrograde. The moon bounces all over and waxes and wanes. But the moon is fairly consistent as well. So moon and Surya and Chandra.
Yeah, but if you take Surya,
Other guys go retrograde and all business.
Where is the Mool Trikon of Surya? What is the Mool Trikon point?
Mool Trikon is Maga, right? Maga.
What degree?
Yeah, it's in Leo.
Maga, I think 5 to 10 degrees or something like that.
Oh, 10 degree. What is opposite of that?
That is, yeah, ST-SHA also.
Yeah.
So of course, Shani is
opposite of
Yeah, opposite.
Opposite.
I think
Surya and Shani are often at heads with that. Because Shani,
but I think that's
Shani can stare at the wall, guys. Be real. That the Parashar.
No, that's a good point, Yuji. The wall is a good point which we forgot. I think these natives will have karma fences, the wall around them, and all that. That kind of thing I've seen. They might have to improve their fence. They might have to put fence around a temple. All that kind of thing also I've seen with the walls.
So, hearing the story of Indra and Varuna, do you think the ST-SHA natives will be having problems in large organizations where someone will overpower them, overthrow them?
Specifically senior people, specifically Jyeshta people, right? Elderly people, elderly corporate people. They'll have a problem there. Now, of course, ST-SHA is large corporations, MNCs and all that, multinational company, multi-level and all that. Within that, they might have, with senior people, Jyeshta natives will have a problem. I mean,
they have problems. That's what I have seen in my observations.
Vrishchika is very commonly in corporate. Vrishchika Rashi, very common in corporate. And you will see a lot of Jyeshta because once again, it is able to play that pyramid game. It's able to climb to the top there. And then I guess it feels okay having that anxiety, of like, I got to keep my throat. Some Jyeshta, I don't want to blanket this because there is a deeply spiritual side of Jyeshta. I mean, the goddess Jyeshta is a very sacred. So anyway, I'm not vilifying Jyeshta, guys. So, but yeah, Jyeshta, there is that side of Jyeshta that can be the is control. Really, it comes down to control, and Shadabhishaka people should be careful. Even if they, even if it's a friend or someone that's helping them, they should just be careful of the turn of the tides with that. They should be careful with that. I have personally seen this in a lot of research. You need to be careful.
Yeah, so I do believe at least I like to believe that at least Varna thing which we were trying to make was obstructed by Indra. So that's why we couldn't make the ST-SHA video. So that's why it probably took a lot of time. But anyways, at least Ketu was
interesting that you say that. I wouldn't even have thought of that. Okay.
Yeah. So we're just giving it Indra some points. But then now that Rahu has left Aries, now it is making it easier kind of thing. So could be a timing.
We made the longest video. I think we made the longest
video.
And of course, we have to.
I think by the time we make 6-hour long video probably.
Anyone who watches this is now God realized.
Very
Many more nakshatra videos, like many people ask us, continue with the series. After watching this mammoth video, I don't think any people would want that. ST-SHA is the symbol of Olympics. If you see, there are 5 rings.
Yes.
The continents, and all of them congregating together in one place to compete.
Yes.
That is like.
Dr. I believe that is happening exactly because Bhavad Dharma Virgo, which is Hasta, containing Hasta, is going to Aquarius. Hasta is 5 in my opinion. So 5 rings is like combining Virgo and Satabisha, in that. So that's in that thing. That's what I'm thinking with that actually. But yeah, that's a very good point actually. Olympics karma is that can happen.
Dhanishta has a Shakti to get people together, and that's Mars Ucha. Mars is the carrier of Agni as well. And so it's a Samphat Nakshatra from Mangal. I'd actually spoke about this in another video, so I didn't want to repeat it this time. I don't know if anyone heard it, but the Samphat from the Ucha point is really important. So like you get the surgeon in Dhanishta, and you get Shadabhashaka, all the medicines. This is a Samphat, right? So it's very interesting when you start looking at that, but actually what you just said is fascinating because Dhanishta does bring large groups of people together. Maybe Shadabhashaka is the container of that.
That's correct, yeah. In fact, I think it'll be interesting to see now with Shani about to go into Aquarius in Satabisha in the future next year actually. Yeah. So we'll see all those themes coming alive. So I think
the other thing was about circle and sphere. You said sphere is nothing but a circle in 3 dimensions.
That's correct. Yes.
And what you said is sphere has got a very unique shape because it encloses the maximum volume in a minimum surface area.
Yeah.
So if you want to really eat more food but show others that you are really eat less food, you make it in a circular form. That's why it's actually you can take the derivative of volume to area and show that
it's the star of concealment.
Yeah, true. Yeah. Because you can make it in triangular form, you can make it in cube form, you can make it so many different forms. But sphere is something a shape with maximum volume and minimum surface area, and much more stability, as you said about fullerene and all. So makes sense.
Many of the Shaktis of the nakshatras, I love how we get together and we just kind of talk. I hope, people can appreciate but if you were to just laser in on a lot of the Shaktis and make them distinct, you will realize quickly, many of them have a relationship to physics, to things we've discovered about medical. Many of them actually are just describing nature, like laws of nature. And so it's very fascinating to hear that about the circular shape, the spherical shape being, and just.
In fact, I encourage people, if you're feeding crows, they put the rice in a circular shape actually. So put rice in now you see, I actually, so a boss crow will sometimes come and boss over the other crow and eat the pile initially. You put in a circle, now all the crows can actually eat it from other direction, so that can.
See, you're protecting them from the Jyeshta.
Right.
From the boss.
Exactly. Yeah.
Has any connection with Lakshman Rekha? What Lakshmana put.
Yeah, so that was very interesting, Dr. Pai. I was thinking about the same. I think the Naga thing with ST-SHA and Satabisha being the Nagaraj thing also, perhaps the king, Lakshman was after all the Anda, so he had to have a karma with a circle after all. Him being the avatar of Anda and all that, he had to draw some boundary at some point. So I believe that was also, and Sita is also considered to be, Maga Nakshatra. So, exactly opposite to that is the Lakshman Rekha and Satabisha and all that, which she crossed and ran Ravana, which Mula Nakshatra took her away kind of thing. So that her marriage got destroyed after that. That
Nakshatra Ramayan. We can make a series, Nakshatra Ramayan.
Yeah.
I think we've definitely done a
I think we've done a long thing. I think probably what is interesting, I believe, is that even the 1.5 years, all of us were preparing for this big thing. We have grown in our own ways also. So that is also coming in many ways. So I'm glad that actually we could finally make it. I think it's time to close this.
So when will be now Purva Bhadrapada?
Let's see. We'll allow the Satabisha to
within this time that we've done Dhanishta and all of that. My father fell and has had some surgeries and like I said, I'm not very public about so much, but I definitely have my work cut out for me with kind of bizarre health management. I mean, you guys know, but I never say it publicly, So I really appreciate everyone's patience. Actually, don't blame these guys. It was me. Okay, they're being nice. They're being very nice.
Actually, it was like
I'm the delay.
So, well, it's like a circular karma. So you cannot take the blame yourself. So it's like coming all together, you know, so simple as that. So
we all
that's
have
the easy thing.
some Satabisha karma, we all know.
All of us had to clear our own Satabisha karma before you could actually teach about it also. So of course you can see Saturn fall and all that, how Yuji's karma became direct.
Pray to him, finally.
Yeah, pray to Varuna, yeah.
Finally, complete our nakshatra series before we Sahasra Chandra Darshanam, which means for 81 years, all these 81 years, we should come.
Yeah. So, yeah.
At the rate of one nakshatra.
So great.
Well, I
Great,
do truly can humbly take the blame.
Yeah.
But
That's-
just
yeah,
so
that's
that
fine.
the audience knows, these guys really tried. These guys
Yeah, no,
really
that's fine.
tried. I am the
Like
one.
I said, Yuji, it's like all our karma. So you need not take the blame yourself. So it's like, as I said, that's how it is going. Now, any final thoughts on Satabisha? Any final thing that each of you would like to say before we bring this to a conclusion? Anything more? Final thing?
I'm glad that we did. That's
Yeah, I'm also glad.
I'm so happy. And honestly, this is so perfect because once again, that intelligence hides itself. A piece of it hides itself in each of us. And if we actually don't come together, if we are delusional to think that we hold all the knowledge or we hold the most special piece of the knowledge, we'll never know anything subtle. Because those subtle things are what actually create this oneness that so many people try to talk about. You know, in spiritual communities, you hear this idea of unity and oneness. And then everyone's judging each other, you know, whispering behind each other's back, and this person did this and this, and it's like, okay, unity broken. You know? So, but yeah, all of us hold such a key piece of the Vidya, and it just really came out in so many ways this evening. Thank you guys. Thank you guys. Everyone, it was profound. And Dr. Paiji, and it was a living omen for us, disappearing in and out.
Going up and coming on video, going off a lot of problems because we had thunderstorms yesterday night here, and so the internet is down. So I'm trying to manage with my mobile, data. Trying to come. Sometimes mobile data goes off. I have to re-log in. So anyway, I'm glad that we got together and we finished this session. It was long pending. It was long overdue.
Great.
Forgive
Great.
me.
Great then. Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.